Chapter 752. Although the techniques recorded in the Beiyuan record were compatible with the Beiyuan sword intent, they were not completely suitable for Wang Daoyuan. Even if the techniques left behind by the sword immortal were not suitable for him, they would not be of much use. Of course, this did not mean that he would not use the techniques in the Beiyuan record at all. The techniques and sword intent of the Beiyuan sword immortal were all about returning to origin. The 5-spirit immortal transformation technique that he mainly cultivated was also about absorbing all things for his own use. The two had a lot in common, so they could be used together. He had 3 techniques for Yuanying and above. They were perfected Lord 100 Spirits technique, the true dragon physical training technique, and the Beiyuan record that he had just obtained. He also knew how to cultivate the Yuanying realm. The main way to cultivate the Yuanying realm was to continuously strengthen the Yuanying. Because Yuanying contained essence, energy, and spirit, it was already difficult to distinguish between them. Therefore, Yuanying techniques all required the cultivation of spirit energy, divine sense, and blood. Different techniques focused on different things. Perfected Lord 100 Spirit's main method of attack was spells, while his technique focused on spirit energy. The true dragon physical training technique was a body tempering technique, so it naturally focused on blood. The Beiyuan record was a sword cultivation technique, and sword intent was a power derived from the soul. Sword cultivation techniques used sword chi as the foundation. Therefore, sword cultivation techniques focused on spirit energy and divine sense, and looked down on blood. It was not that there were no techniques that focused on spirit energy, divine sense, and blood, but the more you focused on, the more your energy would be scattered. If you developed it in all aspects, it was very likely that you would be mediocre in all aspects. Techniques that focused on 3 aspects either consumed a lot of resources or had a very slow cultivation speed. For Wang Daoyuan, the consumption of resources was not a problem at all. Actually, in terms of divine sense cultivation, it was best to use the doppelganger soul nurturing technique as a reference. Unfortunately, his current doppelganger soul nurturing technique was too shallow. For the part of divine sense cultivation, he could only use the Beiyuan record as a reference. Naturally, the 5 spirit energy seeds could not be wasted. Yuanying was a new life, and it was a life born from a human body. Naturally, it was more like a human. Therefore, he could try to turn these 5 spiritual energy seeds into the 5 internal organs of Yuanying. If this idea could succeed, his Yuanying would definitely surpass that of ordinary cultivators. However, there was no precedent to follow, so he didn't dare to experiment on himself. It was better to wait until the cultivation technique was deduced before slowly trying it out. The new cultivation technique would retain the core of the 5 spirits immortal transformation technique, the true dragon body honing technique, and the divine sense cultivation method of the origin returning record. In terms of spiritual energy, he also needed to learn from the origin returning record. After all, this cultivation method was the best and most suitable for the Beiyuan sword intent. As for true monarch 100 spirits inheritance, it was of little use and could only be used as a reference. Wang Daoyuan released his doppelganger Liao Yang to stand guard outside while Yuanying entered the spirit pearl space. With the aid of the 60 times faster flow of time, he slowly deduced the cultivation technique. Although the Beiyuan record and the true dragon physical conditioning technique were extremely advanced cultivation methods, the cultivation part of the Yuanying stage was still within the scope of his understanding. After 3 years, almost 200 years had passed in the spirit pearl space, he finally deduced the embryonic form of the cultivation technique that he wanted. Every mature cultivation technique required many years of polishing. Many cultivation techniques passed down from generation to generation were improved by countless generations of people. A newly created cultivation technique, no matter how well it was deduced before, would not lack flaws. If he rashly cultivated, it was very likely that something would go wrong. In serious cases, he might even go berserk. It was a pity that he didn't have a Yuanying doppelganger, so he could only rely on himself to test the cultivation technique. Yuanying returned to his sea of consciousness and cultivated the newly created cultivation technique. In order to prevent the newly created cultivation technique from having major flaws and causing him to go berserk, He set up a spirit isolation array around him, so that the spiritual energy of the outside world couldn't seep in. He was in a space without any spiritual energy, relying on the spiritual energy provided by the spirit gathering pearl to cultivate. In this way, he could control how much spiritual energy he absorbed when he cultivated the cultivation technique. The cultivation technique wasn't necessarily reliable, so he could absorb less spiritual energy and cultivate it slowly. Even if there were major problems, it wouldn't cause serious damage. After trying it out, he didn't find any major flaws that would cause him to go berserk. However, there were also many small flaws. It caused quite a bit of damage to his meridians, but with the Azure Dragon Pearl, they recovered quickly. Yuanying entered the space of the Spirit Gathering Pearl again and modified these small flaws. After modifying, he tried cultivating again. After repeatedly working on it for 5 years, more than 300 years had passed in the space of the Spirit Gathering Pearl, and finally, there were no obvious flaws. This new cultivation technique was a combination of 3 cultivation techniques. Wang Daoyuan didn't plan to change the name, so he still called it the 5-Spirit Immortal Art. Because of the existence of the spiritual energy seed, the cultivation speed was even faster than the origin returning record. However, the 3 paths of essence, qi, and spirit were equally important, and the consumption of resources was also huge. The cultivation speed was about 50% faster than the origin returning record, and the consumption of resources was 5 times faster than the origin returning record. 5 times the consumption, but only 50% faster. This was also because Wang Daoyuan's level was limited, and he was too far away from the origin returning sword immortal. This cultivation speed could be said to be completely relying on resources, and it wasn't considered brilliant. However, it was fine as long as he could cultivate. With the spiritual fire and the space of the Spirit Gathering Pearl, he could withstand the consumption of resources. The large cauldron obtained from the Ziwei Palace had been isolated from spirit qi in the space of the Spirit Gathering Pearl for hundreds of years, and now it had finally stopped. Wang Daoyuan used his divine sense to attack it, but it didn't counterattack. He probed into the cauldron with his divine sense and felt the existence of an artifact spirit inside, but it was still in a deep sleep and couldn't communicate at all. The previous counterattack was also based on instinct. Unfortunately, this artifact spirit still didn't allow him to recognize it as its master. There was indeed a sword embryo inside, and its appearance was exactly the same as the sword in the origin returning sword diagram. After all, the sword embryo wasn't a complete sword, and the pattern wasn't complete. However, the internal structure was already very complete, and with Wang Daoyuan's current refining skills, he really didn't have the ability to forge the internal structure. This sword embryo could be refined into a natal dharma artifact first. Although it wasn't very suitable for him, it was still excellent for temporary use. As for the true natal dharma artifact, Wang Daoyuan already had an idea. He planned to use the 3 treasures tool fostering technique to nurture his natal dharma artifact again. Although the 5 elements demon suppression seal couldn't keep up with his cultivation realm, the 5 dharma artifacts each had their own functions and complementary dharma spells. These functions and dharma spells were of great value to Wang Daoyuan. The 5 elements demon suppression seal was compatible with the purple mansion phenomenon and had great potential, so he naturally couldn't give it up directly. Using the 3 treasures tool fostering technique and the 5 elements demon suppression seal, he could nurture 5 special artifact spirits. These 5 artifact spirits could also combine to form the Yinglong demon slaying sword and fuse with the Yinglong pattern on his glabella. In this way, he wouldn't have to discard the results of refining the 5 natal dharma artifacts. It was just that the resources and time consumed were also massive. He planned to use the 5 elements essence to execute the 3 treasures tool fostering technique. He already had the earth essence and aged metal essence, and he was still lacking the leaf fire essence, Gui water essence, and Yi wood essence. If he could find the 5 elements essence, not only could he use it to execute the 3 treasures tool fostering technique, but he could also fuse it with the spirit meridian in the space of the spirit pearl to promote the advancement of the spirit meridian. Moreover, the 5 elements essence could also be used as a 5 elements spiritual item for Yuanying when a golden core cultivator shatters his core to form the nascent soul. When he returned to Beiyuan Shoshin in the future, Zhou Wan and the other clan members wouldn't need to find the spiritual items needed to shatter their core to form the nascent soul. Fusing the 5 elements essence into the spirit meridian could also promote the advancement of the spirit meridian. He wouldn't have to worry about the spirit meridian in the few spirit mountains of the clan. In the Qixing Si Shuxian community, there were still many level 4 or level 5 elements essence. Now that he had a cultivation technique, it was time for him to go out and have some fun. Before that, he would first refine this sword embryo into his natal Dharma artifact. Yuanying entered the space of the spirit pearl and used the power of his divine sense to condense an artifact pattern on the sword embryo. He wanted to condense an inferior level 5 sword of origin pattern, which didn't exceed his current cultivation. It was just that his blacksmithing skills couldn't keep up, so he spent more time. It took him more than a month to refine the sword embryo into a natal Dharma artifact. In the space of the spirit pearl, it took him a few years to do so. With the sword of origin pattern and the cultivation technique, his strength had improved by quite a bit. When facing an ordinary late-stage Yuanying cultivator, it wouldn't be a problem for him to protect himself. Chapter 753. After staying here for 8 years, there were some changes in the space of the spiritual pearl. The Crimson Yang primordial fire had finally broken through to the 5th level. The other 3 spirit fires were still the same. However, the peach tree sapling had also advanced to the lower 5th level. Moreover, there were a few small buds growing on its fingertips. Although it was unrealistic for it to bear fruit, it was already very difficult for there to be new changes. The 2 star cores had now been upgraded to the lower 5th level. The power of the stars that they emitted was stronger. Among the Dharma artifacts that he had obtained in the Purple Gold River branch in the Valley of Beasts, some had already recovered to the lower 5th level. Wang Daoyuan took out a heavy sword and used it as his Dharma artifact. In the 7 Stars Mystery Realm, he had always used the methods of a sword cultivator. Now that he was going to go out and look for the 5 elements essence, he still had to pay attention to his disguise. Carrying a heavy sword, he disguised himself as a physique cultivator in his prime. He suppressed his cultivation to the peak of the Golden Core realm and changed his appearance. He took a flying boat and left this nameless island, heading east. Previously in the 7 Stars Mystery Realm, he had been in disguise. Even if he encountered those cultivators that he had fought before, it was not a big deal. His goal was still Demon Hunter Island, where he could obtain some information. The 7 Stars Alliance and Blood Shark did not have much strength here. A day later, Wang Daoyuan arrived at Demon Hunter Island. There was not much difference from before. There was still a group of Golden Core Realm cultivators here. He went to Kaiyang Restaurant, ordered a few dishes and 2 jars of wine, and listened to the conversations of the other cultivators. These rogue cultivators were talking about the arrest warrant the most. He heard a young cultivator at the peak of the Golden Core realm say with a face of reverence, "The sword cultivator surnamed Zhou on the Heaven No. 1 arrest warrant is really in the limelight. I heard that he had just formed his nascent soul in the 7 Stars Mystery Realm and killed Perfected Golden Light of the 7 Stars Alliance." Although Perfected Golden Light was not strong, he had formed his nascent soul for nearly 100 years. After that, he snuck into the 7 Stars Heavenly Palace and stole a large amount of spiritual herbs under the noses of 7 late-stage Yuanying cultivators. He even hid them for more than a day. The 7 Stars Alliance, Blood Shark, and Mystic Ice Island all put out a bounty of 1 million upper-grade spiritual stones for the capture of this person. If they could capture him alive and deliver him to the 3 families, they would be able to give him another nascent transformation fruit. Providing some reliable information could also earn 1,000 to 10,000 high-grade spirit stones. Speaking of which, I only stole some spirit herbs. There's no need to be like this, right? Hearing this, Wang Daoyuan didn't find it strange. After all that he had done, it would be strange if there wasn't a sky-high bounty. However, these 3 forces had concealed quite a lot of things. He did not mention a single word about Ziwei Hall. An old cultivator at the side smiled and said, "This is also a common trick used by large organizations. They issue wanted posters but refuse to reveal the real situation. I have an old friend in Blood Shark who knows some inside information. In front of the Ziwei Hall of the Seven Stars Heavenly Palace, this sword cultivator killed an early-stage Yuanian cultivator from the Alioth sword sect in front of 7 late-stage Yuanian cultivators. Moreover, this person also opened Ziwei Hall and took away some of its inheritance. Hearing this, the few people who were bragging together began to breathe rapidly. These large organizations had all obtained some of the Seven Stars Heavenly Palace's inheritance, which was why they were in their current situation. The inheritance in Ziwei Hall was definitely more valuable. If they could obtain the inheritance in Ziwei Hall, they could establish their own family or small sect. After a few thousand years of development, they could also become a large organization. This was too tempting for itinerant cultivators. A few other cultivators also began to brag. However, their bragging was quite ridiculous. Some said that Wang Daoyuan had obtained an Immortals Dharma treasure in Ziwei Hall. As long as he could make it recognize him as its master, killing soul formation cultivators would be as easy as chopping vegetables. Some also said that he had obtained an immortal pill. After eating it, his cultivation level skyrocketed and he had already ascended. Otherwise, how could the 3 large organizations not catch him after using such a powerful technique? No matter how ridiculous the rumors were, Wang Daoyuan did not care. What did a body cultivator like Wu Chuan have to do with a sword cultivator with the surname Zhou being wanted? As long as he did not actively expose his identity as a sword cultivator, it would be difficult for others to suspect him. After eating here, Wang Daoyuan did not stay any longer. Since he had a general understanding of the situation, there was not much point in staying here. He wanted to find the 5 elements essence. This was not something that could be obtained from any spirit vein. His understanding of the Sea of 7 Stars was still too shallow. It would be very difficult for him to find the 5 elements essence. The beast skin book that Uncle Zhong gave him also recorded the situation of some famous islands. Wang Daoyuan's target was Rare Treasure Island. Rare Treasure Island was located in the south of Qixing Sea Shuxian community. It was more than 150,000 kilometers away from Tianxian Island and was located at the border between the Seven Stars Alliance and the Blood Sharks territory. The island was not big. It was about 2,000 kilometers in radius and could only be considered a small island. However, this island happened to be on the main route from the Sea of 7 Stars to the Myriad Demon Island. There were also many coral reefs in the surrounding waters. The corals around Rare Treasure Island were all materials for refining tools. 4th or 5th grade corals were very common. Occasionally, 6th grade corals could be seen. The presence of coral reefs would definitely attract a large number of fish and other aquatic monsters. Therefore, there was an endless stream of cultivators who came to look for corals and hunt monsters. With enough people and the island being on the main route, it was naturally very prosperous. The Seven Stars Alliance and the Blood Shark had fought over Rare Treasure Island before. However, Rare Treasure Island was too valuable. Neither side could accept the other side's complete control. This place was also the point of balance between the two sides. No side could gain an absolute advantage. Therefore, the two sides came to an agreement that neither side would control Rare Treasure Island. They would only do business and collect taxes on the island. Thus, this place became an island of commerce. Almost all the territories on the island had been opened up into open markets. In the market of Rare Treasure Island, there was also the largest auction in the entire Qixing Sea Shuxian community. It was held once every 100 years. In this auction, one could see all kinds of rare treasures. In addition to the big auction, there were also many small auctions. There were also many precious spiritual items. Although the 5 elements essence was not considered rare in the Sea of 7 Stars, it was not easy to find. Even the 4th grade 5 elements essence needed tens of thousands of years to form. Wang Daoyuan knew very little about the Sea of 7 Stars. Relying on himself to find the 5 elements essence was tantamount to finding a needle in a haystack. In the market of Rare Treasure Island, such spiritual items often appeared in the market of Rare Treasure Island. Instead of spending the effort to find them, it was better to spend some spirit stones to buy them. After eating and drinking at Kaiyang restaurant, he took the flying boat and headed southeast. Monster Hunter Island was west of the Sea of Seven Stars, while Rare Treasure Island was south of the Sea of Seven Stars. The distance between the two was more than 1,000,000 miles. Wang Daoyuan did not want to appear too abnormal. Along the way, he stopped to rest for a few days when he encountered islands. At the same time, he bought some 4th grade and 5th grade refining materials and sold some 4th grade magic tools to earn some high-grade spirit stones. Transactions in the Sea of Seven Stars often cost a few thousand high-grade spirit stones. When he came from Beiyuan, he did not bring many high-grade spirit stones. In the secret realm, he only obtained a few thousand high-grade spirit stones after killing Venerable Goldenlight. If he wanted to bid for the 5 elements essence, he would not have a high chance of winning without a few 100,000 high-grade spirit stones. Therefore, he exposed his identity as a blacksmith and earned some spirit stones by refining tools. He would not refine tools himself. There were 3 4th grade blacksmiths in the space of the Spirit Pearl. Ordinary magic tools were naturally left to them. After half a year of trekking, he finally arrived near Rare Treasure Island. Looking from afar, an island that looked like a kidney was lying on the sea. With this appearance, it should be called Pig's Kidney Island, not Rare Treasure Island. The terrain of the island was flat and there was nothing special about the terrain. However, in the surrounding sea, there were huge coral reefs with a radius of more than 30,000 miles. These coral reefs were of different colors, reflecting the surrounding sea into a myriad of colors. Wang Daoyuan had seen the world, but he still could not help but look at it for a while. He landed on the west coast of Rare Treasure Island, kept the flying boat, and walked straight to the market. Chapter 754. The management of the market on Rare Treasures Island was also very lax. Other than the fact that fighting was not allowed, there were no other rules. The Seven Stars Alliance and Blood Shark sent out some early-stage Yuanian cultivators and peak-stage Golden Core cultivators to form a team of guards. If there were any random cultivators who attacked, they would be dealt with by the guards. The taxes collected from the shops by the 2 major forces were also handled by the guards. Therefore, on Rare Treasures Island, as long as one did not attack or offend the guards, everything was fine. The whole market was protected by a wall that was not very tall. The wall was densely engraved with tool patterns and formation patterns. The market was protected by a wall, which was also a characteristic of most high-value islands. Most of the islands in the Sea of Seven Stars had records of being attacked by demon beasts. The areas around the 7 big islands were still fine. The demon beasts in the sea were almost all dealt with. Islands like Rare Treasures Island had even more cases of being attacked by demon beasts. Wang Daoyuan came to the west gate of the market and revealed his aura as a Yuanian cultivator. Yuanian loose cultivators were not uncommon in a place like Rare Treasures Island, so there was no need for them to hide their cultivation. The 2 guards guarding the gate were both peak-stage Golden Core cultivators. They quickly cupped their hands and said, "Greetings, Senior. May I ask if you have a token?" Wang Daoyuan shook his head. "This is my first time here. I don't have a token." The peak-stage Golden Core cultivator took out a silver token. "May I ask for your name, Senior?" "Wu Chuan." The peak-stage Golden Core cultivator carved something on the token. After a few breaths, he handed the token to Wang Daoyuan. "This is Senior's identity token. As long as you drip your blood on it, you can enter and leave the market as you wish. If you lose the token, you can find us to replace it at any time." Wang Daoyuan took the token and dripped a drop of blood on it. The token flashed with a red light, then the light disappeared. The 2 guards cupped their hands and invited him in. Wang Daoyuan walked through the gate. There was a formation at the gate. When he walked in front of the formation, it automatically opened a hole and let him in. There were rows upon rows of shops in the city, but there were also many loose cultivators who set up street stalls. In addition to shops, there were also many residential buildings. There were also many ordinary people in some of the residences. Although the scale of the market here was very large, it was very similar to the market in Beiyuan. There were also brokers here. Not long after Wang Daoyuan entered the makeshift market, a foundation establishment cultivator came forward to strike a conversation with him. In the Qixing Si Xiuxin community, those who had not reached the late stage of the Jindan realm were not allowed to travel in the open sea. Such foundation establishment cultivators were all born here. The foundation establishment cultivator bowed to Wang Daoyuan. "Senior, are you looking for a shop?" "Junior Wu Yan, although my cultivation base is low, I am very familiar with the market on Rare Treasures Island. No matter what Senior wants to buy, Junior will be able to find a suitable shop for you." Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "What are the prices of the shops and houses in this market?" Wu Yan answered, "A store with a good location costs several thousand high-grade spirit stones. Even a store in a more remote area costs more than 1,000 high-grade spirit stones. The houses far away from the main road are relatively cheaper. A small house with a length of 10 feet and a width of 5 feet only costs about 100 high-grade spirit stones." The prices of the shops and houses here were really high. However, there were mid-grade 6th-level spirit veins on Rare Treasures Island. The effect of cultivating anywhere was much better than cultivating at the volcano on Heavenly Flame Island. Most of the 6th-level spirit veins were occupied by various forces. It was extremely difficult for a rogue cultivator to cultivate near a 6th-level spirit vein. As such, the price was acceptable. It was no wonder that so many cultivators set up street stalls. It was easy to buy a remote house here, but it was difficult to buy a shop. Wang Daoyuan only had a little more than 1,000 high-grade spirit stones on him. Buying a shop was a bit difficult. It was better to set up a street stall than a remote shop. He asked Wu Yan, "How many spirit stones does a house with a fire eye cost?" Wu Yan answered, "The price is relatively high. The cheapest one costs more than 500 spirit stones. Help me find a house with a fire eye. I can accept it for less than 1,000 spirit stones. As long as I'm satisfied, you'll be rewarded." Then, he took out a few mid-grade spirit stones and gave them to him. He didn't want the fire eye for alchemy or refining tools, but mainly for cultivation. With the spiritual fire and the fire eye, he could quickly obtain a large amount of spiritual power. Wu Yan took the spirit stones and thanked him profusely. "Thank you for your reward, Senior." The market on Rare Treasures Island is very big, so there are naturally many cultivators. There are also many shops and houses for sale. 2 days ago, a cultivator wanted to leave Rare Treasures Island and asked me to find a house for him. That person was an alchemist, and there was a fire eye in his house. The house is 20 feet long and 10 feet wide. The price is 600 high-grade spirit stones. What do you think? Take me there. If I'm satisfied, I'll buy it. Wu Yan took him to the south and came to a small house in the southwest corner of the market. At this time, an old cultivator at the peak of the Golden Core realm came to greet them. When he saw Wang Daoyuan, he bowed and saluted, "Greetings, Senior. This is this junior's small house. Please come in and take a look." Wang Daoyuan followed him into the small house. The gate of the small house faced the east and was surrounded by walls on 3 sides. There were 3 rooms on the west side. The south room was the earth fire room, the north room was the bedroom, and the middle room was the reception area. Apart from a small path connecting the gate to the house, the rest of the house was opened up as a spiritual field. After entering the earth fire room, the fire eye was only a foot in diameter. Earth fire was constantly gushing out from it. There was also a 4th-grade high-grade alchemy furnace on top of the fire eye. It seemed that medicinal pills were still being nourished in the furnace. Wang Daoyuan nodded with satisfaction. "I'm very satisfied with this house. I have no objection to the price of 600 high-grade spirit stones. I'm an alchemist, but I also want to learn alchemy. If you have an alchemy inheritance, I can buy it at a suitable price." Upon hearing this, the peak of the Golden Core realm cultivator's face lit up. He quickly said, "Since Senior is interested, this junior naturally won't refuse. It's just that my alchemy technique is based on many incomplete inheritances. It's only a 5th-grade low-grade alchemy inheritance, and it's also very crude. If Senior doesn't mind, this junior is naturally willing to sell it to you. You can decide the price. Wang Daoyuan just wanted to get an alchemy inheritance to understand the characteristics of the Sea of Seven Stars alchemy Dao. He didn't expect it to be a 5th grade alchemy inheritance. He only had a 4th grade alchemy inheritance, which was an unexpected gain. After pondering for a while, he said, I'm willing to buy your alchemy technique with 100 high-grade spirit stones. What do you think? The Peak of the Golden Core Realm cultivator repeatedly agreed. He took out a beast skin book, a token, and a square metal plate. The alchemy technique, array formation token, and the house deed are all here. Wang Daoyuan took it and checked it. There was no problem with the alchemy technique. The token could also control the array formation of this small house, but he didn't recognize the house deed. However, this house deed had the seal of the Rare Treasures Islands guards, so it shouldn't be fake. He took out 700 high-grade spirit stones and handed them to the Peak of the Golden Core Realm cultivator. He quickly took the spirit stones, took the pill furnace, and left with gratitude. Wang Daoyuan gave Wu Yan more than 10 medium-grade spirit stones and asked him to help find a channel to buy refining materials. Wu Yan naturally didn't dare to be negligent after getting a lot of benefits. He patted his chest and promised that he would find a shop that sold refining materials. After sending the 2 people away, Wang Daoyuan checked the array formation again, but he didn't find any clues. Thus, he studied the alchemy technique in this small courtyard. This alchemy technique was called the Outer Sea Pill Scripture. In addition to the alchemy technique, it also introduced the medicinal effects of some common spiritual herbs in the sea. The alchemy technique of Qixing Sea Xiuxian community was indeed very different from that of Beiyuan. The alchemy technique of Beiyuan Xiuxian community, even when refining gold formation pills, used demonic beast cores as the main ingredient, and the supplementary ingredients were also spiritual herbs. However, it was different in the Sea of Seven Stars. If they could use demonic beast cores, they would never use spiritual herbs. More than 80% of the raw materials used to refine a pill were demonic beast cores, demonic beast blood essence, demonic beast meat, and so on. The small amount of spiritual herbs were mostly produced in the sea. Wang Daoyuan could only recognize a few of them. Chapter 755. The alchemy techniques recorded in the Outer Sea Pill Scripture were very different from Wang Daoyuan's original alchemy techniques. However, the contents of extracting essence, condensing pills, and pill veins were basically the same. These things were the same, so it was not difficult to learn them. He had crossed the sea from Beiyuan and killed many demon beasts along the way, so he had accumulated a lot of demon cores and demon beasts' bones. Coupled with a small amount of spirit herbs, he could refine a few types of pills. Although Dharma artifacts were expensive, the demand for them was much lower. As long as there were cultivators, the demand for pills was very high. Rare Treasures Island was surrounded by demon hunting grounds, so there were more casualties among cultivators. Healing pills would definitely sell for a good price. He chose a healing pill called the Beast Blood Heaven Returning Pill. The main ingredient was the blood essence of demon beasts. This was very common on Rare Treasures Island. He could get a few thousand kilograms of blood essence by killing a slightly larger demon beast. Healing pills were also easier to refine, and it took less time to refine pills. He could refine 1 cauldron in 10 days. Wu Yan also introduced him to a few itinerant cultivators who went out to search for refining materials and alchemy materials, so he did not have to worry about the raw materials. After refining pills for more than 2 months, he left his small courtyard and set up a stall near the nearest market square. Wang Daoyuan took a large piece of beast skin, found a gap in the stall, and spread it on the ground. He took out a few low-grade grade 4 Dharma artifacts and 5 bottles of beast blood heaven returning pills. Yuanying itinerant cultivators were not rare in this market square, but Yuanying itinerant cultivators who set up stalls were rarer. With a Yuanying cultivation base, he could get a few thousand high-grade spirit stones by casually making a few moves. To put it bluntly, setting up a stall depended on one's luck. If one was unlucky, they might not get anything. He was also a Yuanying cultivator. Normal golden core cultivators did not dare to buy from him because they did not dare to bargain. After setting up a stall for 2 days, he did not sell a single item. However, he had at least figured out the prices of pills and Dharma artifacts. On the 3rd day, an early-stage Yuanian cultivator came to Wang Daoyuan's stall. This person looked middle-aged and was wearing a long robe made of beast skin that was commonly seen among itinerant cultivators. Wang Daoyuan asked, "Daoyu, what do you want?" "Daoyu's stall only has grade 4 items, so I naturally have no use for them. However, fellow Daoist is a nascent soul cultivator. Isn't it a waste of your talent to set up a stall here? It's better to go out to sea to hunt demon beasts than here." Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "I'm also new here and don't have any connections yet. If I go out to sea rashly, I might offend other cultivators. I lack spirit stones, so I only have some skills in alchemy and artifact forging." The nascent soul cultivator smiled and said, "That's a small matter. I'll take all the things in your stall. Usually, Yuaniing, Yuaniing, and Yuaniing cultivators. I'm just a Yuaniing cultivator, so I don't dare to easily provoke strong grade 5 demon beasts. If Daoyu can join us, with our strength and the cooperation of a few golden core juniors, killing low-grade grade 5 demon beasts will be as easy as chopping vegetables. I also have channels to sell resources. If everything goes well, each of us will be able to earn more than 10,000 high-grade spirit stones in one trip. If Daoyu still wants to do this business, you can buy a shop in a crowded place. It's much better than setting up a stall here." Wang Daoyuan stayed on Rare Treasures Island to earn some spirit stones to buy 5 elements essence. He also wanted to improve his skills in alchemy and tool refining. When he reached the Yuaniing stage, grade 4 mid-grade alchemy and tool refining skills were no longer enough. Moreover, hunting demon beasts was also a business of dividing territory. Places where it was easy to hunt demon beasts would definitely be occupied by people. If he didn't have any connections and went out rashly, not only would he not be able to hunt demon beasts, he might even be besieged. Now that a demon beast hunting cultivator wanted him to join them, this connection came to him. If he went hunting with them, earning spirit stones naturally wouldn't be a problem. He also wasn't afraid that this person had any bad intentions. Relying on his physical strength and body cultivation techniques, he could easily kill early Yuanian cultivators. Even if he was ambushed by many people, at worst his identity would be exposed. It was just a matter of changing his name. There were many body cultivators in the Qixing Sea Shuxian community. How could he catch all of them, including the 7 Stars Alliance and Blood Shark? He nodded. Daoyu's words make sense. I'll go hunting with Daoyu. I'm Wu Chuan. Please take care of me, Daoyu. Li Chen took out a storage pouch. There are 3,000 high-grade spirit stones here. I'll take all of Daoyu's things. It just so happens that I have some golden core cultivators under me who can use these things. Wang Daoyuan took the storage pouch, tidied up the magic tools and pills, and handed them to Li Chen. Then, Li Chen brought him to an extremely spacious courtyard nearby. There were 7 peak-stage golden core cultivators in the courtyard. When they saw the 2 enter the courtyard, they bowed and said, "Greetings, head shopkeeper." "Greetings, senior." Li Chen introduced, "This is Wu Chuan, the helper I found. He'll be the second shopkeeper in the future. Everyone go and prepare. 3 days later, we'll go hunting at Blood Rock Beach." Wang Daoyuan had stayed here for a few months and had some understanding of the surrounding waters. Blood Rock Beach was more than 20,000 kilometers south of Rare Treasures Island. The name sounded scary, but it wasn't a particularly dangerous place. It was just that large patches of red blood coral grew there. Looking from above, the entire sea looked like it was dyed red with blood. The coral near Blood Rock Beach was more dense, and the water was very shallow. Large demon beasts didn't like to come here, but there were many small demon beasts. There was no lack of delicacies and spiritual items with extremely high medicinal value. The biggest danger at Blood Rock Beach wasn't the demon beasts, but other demon hunting cultivators. It was very common for them to snatch someone's harvest. As long as they could stand firm, their harvest would definitely be bountiful. 3 days later, everyone boarded a high-grade Tier 4 flying ship and headed due south. 4 hours later, the flying boat arrived at Blood Rock Beach and slowly lowered its altitude. As far as the eye could see, everything was blood-red. Everyone landed on a blood-red reef. Li Chen put away the flying boat and ordered, "Deng Hai, I'll leave the search for the spiritual item to you." A short but vigorous cultivator cupped his hands and said, "Don't worry, head shopkeeper." Then, his figure flashed and disappeared from the coral reef. His method naturally couldn't hide from Wang Daoyuan's divine sense. It was a rather brilliant concealment secret technique. It was still lacking compared to Wang Daoyuan's devil concealment art, but it was still quite impressive. Moreover, Deng Hai's speed was extremely fast. Ordinary demon beasts really couldn't stop him. He swam down through the coral crevices. The specialty of Blood Rock Beach was some 4th grade or 5th grade seafood. They were relatively weak, but their value was very high. These things were usually hidden in the depths of the coral reef. It really required some special methods to find them. An hour later, Deng Hai came up from below the coral reef with a joyful expression. "Head shopkeeper, there's a group of star-patterned sea cucumbers below. There are more than 35 star ones and 5 7-star ones." Star-patterned sea cucumbers were also a marvel of the sea. They lived in the deep sea, but their bodies contained star power. The more star power one had, the more star-patterned sea cucumbers would have. Star power was a good thing. It was extremely useful for the divine sense and the physical body. Even soul formation cultivators could absorb the power of the stars for cultivation. Li Chen said with a smile, "Brother Wu, we've hit the jackpot this time. 5-star star-patterned sea cucumbers are generally 4th grade, and one can sell for 1,000 high-grade spirit stones. 7-star ones are 5th grade, low grade, and one can sell for 3 to 5,000 high-grade spirit stones. As long as we can take all of these sea cucumbers, it won't be a problem for each of us to get 20,000 high-grade spirit stones. Although these sea cucumbers aren't good at fighting, there are still 5th grade ones. If I go down alone, I can at most catch 1 or 2 sea of 7 stars sea cucumbers. If we want to leave all of these sea cucumbers behind, I'll have to trouble Dao Yu to go down with me." The true dragon body forging technique was even more powerful underwater. In the water, apart from powerful demonic beasts such as dragons, Wang Daoyuan wasn't afraid of anyone in the same realm. He also agreed. "Since we're going out to sea together, we naturally have to do it together." Chapter 756. Li Chen was a water cultivator, so it was not a problem for him to enter the sea. Wang Daoyuan did not deliberately hide his spiritual power either. The Sea of 7 Stars was different from Beiyuan. Even foundation establishment cultivators in Beiyuan rarely had pentaspirit roots, but here in the Sea of 7 Stars, pentaspirit roots cultivators were not rare. Especially in the Yuanying realm, there were more pentaspirit roots cultivators than 3-spirit roots cultivators. Here, pentaspirit roots were no different from ordinary spirit roots. Both of them had water-type spells, so it was not a problem for them to enter the water. Li Chen turned into a ball of water and entered the sea. Wang Daoyuan had exposed the cloud mist escape in the 7 Stars secret realm, so he could not use it now. He had many escape techniques, including the true dragon flight technique and the flood dragon water escape that he had obtained from the Gu clan. He had only hidden one move, which was the weaker flood dragon water escape. He turned into a black flood dragon and entered the sea. Although he had crossed the ocean from Beiyuan to the Sea of 7 Stars, he had never gone deep into the sea. In the dim water, the crimson blood coral emitted a weak red light. All kinds of low-grade spirit fish swam through it. Wang Daoyuan really wanted to raise some corals and spirit fish. Yuanying often entered the spirit pearl space, so it was good for the eyes. Moreover, the crimson blood coral was an excellent refining material. Unfortunately, there was no seawater in the spirit pearl space, and the space was too small. It was only a little more than 100 acres. When the space was bigger in the future, he could dig a big hole at the edge and fill it with seawater to raise spirit fish. Both of them were Yuaniing cultivators, and they already knew the location, so they were naturally very fast. In just a few minutes, they arrived at the star-patterned sea cucumber. The star-patterned sea cucumber was not small. It was as thick as an adult's calf and almost 2 feet long. There were also 7 round spots the size of copper coins on its body, emitting weak star power. These were the star runes of the sea cucumber. Each star rune contained a massive amount of star power. After eating this sea cucumber, one would be able to refine the power of the stars into one's body and integrate it into one's Yuaniing. This was extremely beneficial to the growth of Yuaniing. Looking at these sea cucumbers, Wang Daoyuan thought of the famous dishes from his previous life, such as scallion braised sea cucumber, Buddha jumps over the wall, and so on. He couldn't help but drool. In the future, when the space in the spiritual pearl was larger, he would dig a hole to fill it with seawater and raise some star-patterned sea cucumbers. The two of them dispelled their escape techniques, suppressed their spirit energy fluctuations as much as possible, and quietly approached the sea cucumber. These guys didn't know that a disaster was coming. They were lying on the reefs at the bottom of the sea, eating the seaweed unhurriedly. Li Chen said telepathically, "Brother Wu, catch the sea of 7 stars ginseng first. 5 stars are slow, so they can't escape." Wang Daoyuan immediately agreed, and the two of them cast spells at the same time, attacking the 5 ginseng of the sea of 7 stars. Li Chen condensed a water prison, trapping 2 ginseng of the sea of 7 stars. As for the remaining 3, Wang Daoyuan couldn't let them go. He cast the water dragon spell and condensed 3 water dragons, entangling the 3 ginseng of the sea of 7 stars. If they were ordinary demon beasts, it would be easy to break the water dragons. However, these sea cucumbers were too weak. They could only emit spirit energy fluctuations, trying to break free from the water dragons. Unfortunately, they were too weak to break free. Li Chen took out a jade bottle and put the 5 ginseng inside. This jade bottle is a spatial artifact used to store precious seafood. "Brother, I think you don't have such an artifact, so you can leave it with me for now. You know the price of this thing. After we sell it, you won't be short of a single spirit stone." Wang Daoyuan didn't object, and the two of them continued to catch other sea cucumbers. The star-patterned patterns on these 5 stars sea cucumbers were much smaller, only 4th grade high quality. Sea cucumbers weren't known for their speed, so they naturally couldn't escape from the two of them. The two of them cast spells and caught 15 sea cucumbers each. There was also a 5-star sea cucumber that drilled into a dense coral. Wang Daoyuan was short of spirit stones. This sea cucumber was worth 1,000 high-quality spirit stones, so he could get more than 400. Naturally, he couldn't let it run away. He clenched his fist and condensed the phantom of a dragon claw. With a punch, the corals within a range of 10 feet were shattered. However, there was a 9-foot-tall coral tree that didn't even have a crack on it. This coral wasn't like other refining materials. It didn't have obvious spirit energy fluctuations. Except for cultivators who specialized in collecting corals, it was very difficult for ordinary people to accurately judge the quality of corals. Unless they carried out some destructive experiments, they could roughly judge the quality of the corals by their strength. To be able to withstand Wang Daoyuan's punch, it had to be at least 5th grade. Li Chen exclaimed, "Brother, you're very capable and lucky. This coral can withstand your punch without being damaged. It's definitely at the 5th grade. It's more than 9 feet tall and can be refined into a long weapon. Even if it's low-quality 5th grade, it's worth 7,000 to 8,000 high-quality spirit stones. If it's mid-quality 5th grade, it's worth at least 10,000. This thing was discovered by you alone, so I won't interfere." This Li Chen was quite righteous. Wang Daoyuan walked over, shattered the rocks around the coral, and pulled out the entire coral tree. After putting it away, he smiled and said, "Brotherly, you're too serious. If I didn't come with Brotherly, I wouldn't have found this thing. When we split the spirit stones, I'll get 1,000 less." The 5-star sea cucumber couldn't escape and was put into a jade bottle by Li Chen. The two of them had caused quite a commotion. If they continued to stay here, it was inevitable that they would attract more fierce demon beasts. No matter how good a human's swimming ability was, they couldn't compare to demon beasts that lived in the deep sea. There was no need to stay here and cause trouble. The two of them quickly left and went to the coral reef from before. When they arrived at the reef, they found that Deng Hai and the others were gone. Li Chen's expression was strange. Obviously, this matter was beyond his expectations. He was about to send a message to those people when he heard an arrogant voice. Li Chen, we didn't interfere with each other's business. Why did you come to our territory and steal our business? Could it be that after finding a helper, you've become so bold that you dare to go against us brothers? Hand over the star-patterned sea cucumber and I'll let your dogs go. Otherwise, they'll die, and you two won't be able to escape. Li Chen snorted coldly. Twin blood dragons, when did the Bloodstone Beach become your territory? Even the 7 Stars Alliance and the Blood Shark Alliance didn't occupy the entire Rare Treasure Island. What do you think you are? Be obedient and let my men go. Otherwise, you two brothers will suffer today. At this time, 2 cultivators emerged from the water. They were also in the early Yuanying realm. Their hair and beards were blood red, and their fingers were long and slender. Their nails didn't look like human hands, but more like the claws of eagles. Wang Daoyuan had cultivated the true dragon physical tempering art for many years and was very sensitive to dragon qi. The two of them emitted a faint dragon qi, so they should be half-demon beasts with dragon blood. In this way, the two brothers shouldn't be weak. At least among cultivators in the same realm, their strength should be above average. One of them said, Li Chen, you have some skills, but no matter how strong you are, can you deal with Master Huang? On Blood Rock Beach, we brothers don't have the final say, but Master Huang has the final say. Li Chen transmitted his voice to Wang Daoyuan. The Master Huang he mentioned is a reputable figure on Rare Treasure Island. The Huang family is a power outside of the 7 Stars Alliance and the Blood Shark. Now, the Huang family has a peak Yuanying realm cultivator, Master Huang. They also have a late Yuanying realm cultivator, a mid Yuanying realm cultivator, and 2 early Yuanying realm cultivators. The Huang family's strength can be counted as the 3rd strongest on Rare Treasure Island. They have always been very respectful to the 2 major powers, so no one dared to touch them. The Blood Sea Flood Dragons are somewhat related to the Huang family. Their father is a 5th-grade Blood Sea Flood Dragon raised by Master Huang. Dragons are lascivious, and this Blood Sea Flood Dragon touched one of Master Huang's concubines and gave birth to these 2 bastards. Master Huang and his pet became brothers-in-law, so he felt ashamed. So, he chased these 2 bastards out of the Huang family and locked up the Blood Sea Flood Dragon. These 2 bastards often use the Huang family's name as a banner, but the Huang family doesn't really care about them. If they kill them, Master Huang won't look good either. When you fight later, don't go overboard. If you don't kill or cripple them, the Huang family won't pursue the matter. Chapter 757. Hearing this, Wang Daoyuan's interest was piqued. A force with a soul formation cultivator was considered a major force. A force with a peak Yuanying cultivator was considered a second-rate force. Not to mention that he could dominate the Sea of 7 Stars, he was still the master of a region. How could such a person have such a scandal? He asked telepathically, brotherly, this Master Huang is a respectable person. Normally, cultivators in the late and peak of the Yuanying realm would become perfected cultivators. Since he's called Master Huang, he must be extraordinary. Even if he's an ordinary cultivator, he would kill the blood dragon and kill the bastard. Why did Master Huang swallow his anger because of this? Li Chen smiled and said, Master Huang is not an honorific title. His original title was Perfected Lord Blood Dragon. After this incident, who would dare to call him that? He was originally a reputable figure on Rare Treasures Island, so everyone addressed him respectfully as Master Huang. As for swallowing his anger, it's mainly because this blood dragon is not simple. Its dragon blood is extremely pure and has reached the level of a semi-divine beast. Moreover, its cultivation has reached the peak of the 5th grade. With such a bloodline, it's not a problem for it to break through to the soul formation realm. It's not worth it to fall out with the blood dragon because of a concubine. Therefore, we can't kill these 2 bastards. Otherwise, we'll be in big trouble if we anger that blood dragon. The blood dragon duo saw that the 2 of them were telepathically communicating, and Wang Daoyuan's expression was strange. They immediately guessed what they were talking about. The 2 half-demons were enraged and attacked the 2 of them. The half-demons with dragon blood were definitely not weak, and their strength could not be underestimated. Li Chen was not a body cultivator, so he did not dare to fight them head-on. Wang Daoyuan did not want to fight the 2 of them alone. The 2 of them used escape techniques to distance themselves. The 2 of them separated, and the 2 half-demons chased after Wang Daoyuan and Li Chen respectively. The 2 brothers were twins and looked exactly the same. Wang Daoyuan could not tell who was attacking him. He took out a blood-red spear and pointed it at Wang Daoyuan's throat. Wang Daoyuan's hands turned into dragon claws and grabbed the spearhead. The long spear that had been thrusting towards him abruptly came to a halt. The half-demon tried his best to pull his spear back, but he couldn't move Wang Daoyuan at all. Wang Daoyuan also knew what was going on after this fight. The half-demon in front of him was much weaker than him in terms of physical strength alone. What a waste of his flood dragon bloodline. Half-goblin loosened his gun and condensed a mass of blood-colored spiritual power in his hand. Wang Daoyuan did not give him a chance to make a move. He turned his spear and swept it towards him. The spearhead brought along an ear-piercing sound as it smashed towards his head. The half-demon had no choice but to use an escape technique, turning into a blood-colored mist to dodge the attack. Unfortunately, his escape technique was still a little too slow. Wang Daoyuan raised his spear and chased after him. The half-demon had nowhere to run, so he could only use his half-formed killing move. The blood-colored spiritual power turned into a giant dragon head that bit towards the spearhead. Wang Daoyuan swung his spear to dodge the dragon's mouth, changing from a stab to a sweep. The spearhead smashed into the dragon's head, turning it into a blood mist. Without waiting for the half-demon to recover, Wang Daoyuan charged forward. The spear swept and hit the half-demon's back. The half-demon was sent flying and spat out a mouthful of blood when he landed. Before he could react, the spearhead was already at his throat. After dealing with one half-demon cleanly, Wang Daoyuan shouted at the other half-demon, "Do you want to continue fighting?" Li Chen and the other half-demon were in a stalemate. Although he had the upper hand, his physical body was not as strong as the half-demon's, so it was hard to determine the victor in a short period of time. Seeing his brother being suppressed, the other half-demon stopped attacking. He pulled away from Li Chen and scolded, "You really don't put old Master Huang in your eyes. Let go of my brother and compensate us with 20,000 high-grade spirit stones, and we will let bygones be bygones." Li Chen smiled, "What do you think old Master Huang can do if we kill the 2 of you and escape to Myriad Demon Islands?" Hearing this, the head of the 2 flood dragons stopped being stubborn. "Let go of my brother and I will give you your subordinates." Li Chen transmitted his voice to Wang Daoyuan for his opinion. These 2 half-demons were involved in the Huang family's matters, so outsiders shouldn't interfere. There was no use in killing a half-demon and it would cause a lot of trouble, so he naturally agreed to let them go. After getting his agreement, Li Chen replied, "If you had done this earlier, there wouldn't have been so much trouble. Bring my men over." The head of the 2 flood dragons took out a spirit beast bag from his waist and threw it to Li Chen. Li Chen took the spirit beast pouch and released the 7 half-dead peak-stage golden core cultivators. They should have been injured by the blood sea flood dragons, but their lives weren't in danger. They were just stuffed in the spirit beast bag and weren't in good condition. Wang Daoyuan retreated to Li Chen's side and threw back the spear in his hand. The spear was very ordinary, and Wang Daoyuan didn't want to get entangled with the blood sea flood dragons over this trivial matter. Li Chen took out the flying boat and everyone boarded it and left Bloodstone Beach. Returning to the small courtyard in Rare Treasure Island, Li Chen heaved a sigh of relief, I really didn't expect that I would be so lucky to find such a capable helper. Brother Wu, it's all thanks to you that you defeated the second brother of the two flood dragons. Otherwise, I'm afraid all of my brothers will have to give up. I want to sell these star-patterned sea cucumbers to the Kai Yang restaurant, please wait for a moment. An hour later, Li Chen returned to the courtyard with a face full of joy. Brother Wu, we really made a big profit this time. Lord Huang is about to celebrate his 1600th birthday and will hold a banquet at the Kai Yang restaurant. He just happened to be short of a few dishes, and these star-patterned sea cucumbers can be said to be timely rain. The purchase price was also much higher than usual. One sea of 7 stars sea cucumber was 6,000 high-grade spirit stones, and one 5-star sea cucumber was 1,500 high-grade spirit stones. In total, we sold them for more than 84,000 high-grade spirit stones. Brother, you contributed a lot to deal with the Blood Sea flood dragons this time. You take 50,000 spirit stones, I take 30,000, and the rest are distributed to the juniors. This distribution plan was quite generous. Among the 7 golden core cultivators, except for Deng Hai who contributed to finding the sea cucumbers, the other 6 didn't take action and needed to be rescued. Li Chen also gave them a few hundred spirit stones as a consolation. Wang Daoyuan had almost used up all his spirit stones and could only rely on setting up a stall to survive. In the blink of an eye, he had more than 50,000 high-grade spirit stones, which was a huge sum of money. I've made a lot of money with this distribution. I'm a little short on money, so I won't be polite with Brother Li. I want to buy some spirit items, and I also want to sell the 5th-grade scarlet blood coral. However, I'm not familiar with this place, so I hope Brother Li can recommend me a channel. Li Chen thought for a moment and said, Brother Wu, forgive me for being blunt, but I don't recommend selling your coral tree. 5th-grade corals are not rare, but there aren't many that are as complete as this. A 9 feet tall coral tree can be refined into a halberd or spear. If you can sell it elsewhere, 30,000 high-grade spirit stones won't be a problem. However, in a place like Rare Treasure Island where corals are produced, it's not worth much. It can only be sold for about 10,000 high-grade spirit stones. Wang Daoyuan nodded. I'm lacking a handy heavy-duty magic tool. This thing can be refined into a halberd. In that case, let's go to the Fecta Palace's tool refining shop. As the #1 tool refining sect in the Sea of 7 Stars, their tool refining techniques are extremely brilliant. Wang Daoyuan naturally had no objections. The two of them went to the Fecta tool refining shop in the center of the market. Li Chen was already familiar with the place, so he chatted and laughed with the shopkeeper. After chatting for a while, Li Chen said, This brother of mine found a 9 feet tall 5th-grade coral tree. He wants to ask the tool refining master of the Fecta Palace to help him refine a magic tool. Shopkeeper, please recommend him. At that moment, a mid-stage Yuanian cultivator walked in from outside and asked, Who has a 9 feet tall coral tree? I was just worried that I couldn't find any rare treasures to celebrate my father's birthday. Quickly take it out and let me see. As long as it's good, I won't forget to give you spirit stones. The shopkeeper quickly greeted him, so it's young Master Huang. It's Li Daoyu. I haven't seen any coral trees yet. Li Chen also transmitted his voice to Wang Daoyuan. This is Master Huang's eldest son. He's not someone to be trifled with. Brother Wu, money is just a worldly possession. Don't fight him head on. Chapter 758. The Huang family was also a second-rate power. Master Huang was only 1,600 years old. There were still 400 years before the 2,000-year lifespan of the Yuanying. It wasn't impossible for him to break through to the soul formation realm in such a long time. Wang Daoyuan naturally didn't dare to go against the Huang family. The main reason he wanted to forge a long weapon was that a heavy sword wasn't very convenient for him. When he stole the spears of the Blood Sea flood dragons, he felt that a long weapon was more suitable for body refinement cultivators. Since he had no choice but to sell the coral, he had to find a way to get a good price. Wang Daoyuan smiled. I'm also a body refiner. This coral tree took a punch from me without any damage. It's definitely not an ordinary object. Isn't it a bit inappropriate to take it out here? Also, I want to ask the tool refiners of the Tianji Palace to appraise this coral tree's grade. Since young Master Huang wants to give this coral tree as a birthday gift, it's better to know its grade. Young Master Huang's interest was piqued. If it could take a punch from an early Yuanying body refiner without any damage, it had to be at least a mid-grade 5th rank treasure. If it was in good condition, it could be considered a rare treasure. The shopkeeper was also a shrewd person. He immediately led the three upstairs to a spacious room. There was a mid-stage Yuanying cultivator with white hair and beard in the room. His body emitted a fiery aura. He should be a tool refiner. The shopkeeper cupped his hands and said, "Elder Shen, a little friend obtained a 9 feet tall coral tree. He wants you to appraise its grade and estimate its price." Elder Shen's interest was piqued. A 9 feet tall coral tree is rare. Take it out and let me have a look. Wang Daoyuan took out the coral tree and placed it in front of Elder Shen. Elder Shen glanced at it. It's 9 feet and 5 inches tall. The trunk has a diameter of 3 inches and 2 inches. The branches are intact. In my opinion, it should be a mid-grade 5th rank treasure. It's a pity. If it could grow for another 100 or 200 years, it would be a high-grade 5th rank treasure. At that time, it could be sold for at least 50,000 high-grade spirit stones. Right now, it's only worth 30,000 or so. However, this coral tree just came out of the water not long ago. If we can find a suitable place to raise it for a few hundred years, it has a chance to grow into an upper-grade 5th rank. Hearing this, young Master Huang was overjoyed. "Little friend, how about I buy your coral for 30,000 high-grade spiritual stones?" Elder Shen said that it was worth more than 30,000, but he only offered 30,000. This was a bit unkind. Wang Daoyuan couldn't refuse. He still wanted to stay on the Rare Treasures Island for a while and earn some spirit stones to bid for the 5 elements essence. There was no need to cut off his own path for a few thousand high-grade spirit stones. It wasn't a big deal to suffer a little loss. Anyway, this coral was just a coincidence. He nodded. "Let's do it according to young Master Huang's price." After the transaction was settled, young Master Huang left the shop with the coral tree. Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "Originally, I wanted to ask the master artificer of the Tianji Palace to help me refine a magic weapon. Who would have thought that young Master Huang would take a liking to the materials? Please forgive me, shopkeeper and Elder Shen." The shopkeeper smiled and said, "Dao Yu is too serious. This is also our fault. Young Master Huang has a high status. We don't want to have a falling out with the Huang family. Please forgive us, Dao Yu. Dao Yu, please take a look inside the shop. If you want any spiritual items, we will give you a 20% discount." The shopkeeper knew how to conduct himself. This way, he didn't offend either side. Wang Daoyuan naturally wouldn't let go of this opportunity. He originally wanted to buy a heavy magic weapon. As a sword cultivator, with a heavy sword in hand, he would always want to use sword techniques. Magic weapons like spears and halberds were more suitable for displaying the strength of the body. "I want to buy a 5th grade low-grade spear or halberd. Please lead the way, shopkeeper." The shopkeeper replied, "Our Tianji Palace's artificer skills are second in the Sea of 7 stars. No one dares to claim to be first. We have all kinds of heavy magic weapons. We definitely won't disappoint Dao Yu." Then, he led Wang Daoyuan and Li Chen to the 3rd floor. There were a few spacious rooms here. The shopkeeper led the two of them into one of the rooms. There were a few weapon racks in this room. On each rack, there were a dozen or so long-handled magic weapons. Long-handled axes, sabers, hammers, and other magic weapons were all available. All the heavy magic weapons in this shop are here. Dao Yu, feel free to choose whichever one you like. Although magic weapons like hammers and axes could also display the strength of the body, they were too cumbersome. Their attack power was very strong, but they lacked flexibility. No matter how strong they were useless if they couldn't hit their target. All of his methods pursued speed to ensure that he could hit his opponent. The 5 elements Devil Suppression Seal wasn't fast, but it could use its suppressive force to restrict the opponent's speed. Therefore, when he chose magic weapons, he still wanted to ensure that the speed and flexibility were not lacking. He pursued strength. He took a fancy to a double-handled halberd. This halberd was as black as ink and was decorated with dragon patterns. He took the halberd down from the weapon rack and weighed it in his hand. The weight was very suitable for him. The halberd's 2 blades had obvious dragon chi. It should have been refined from the horn of a dragon. Seeing that he had taken a fancy to this halberd, the shopkeeper smiled. This halberd is called the Black Dragon Halberd. It's a non-elemental magic weapon refined from the dragon bone of an inky jade flood dragon. 300 years ago, a Yuanian cultivator of Myfecta Palace was traveling the myriad demon islands. He encountered a level 5 lower divine beast, the inky jade flood dragon. He killed it and used its dragon bone, dragon horn, and a few non-elemental metals to refine this halberd. The shaft also contains the spine of the inky jade flood dragon. The blade of the halberd is refined from dragon horn. This black dragon halberd can be considered a first-rate magic weapon among level 5 lower divine weapons. If Dao Yu is willing to take the time to nurture it, it's not impossible for it to reach level 5 middle divine weapon. Wang Daoyuan's body refinement technique came from the true dragon physical tempering technique. This black dragon halberd used a flood dragon as a refining material, which was quite compatible with the true dragon physical tempering technique. The black dragon halberd was also a non-elemental magic weapon, which was more suitable for cultivators with 5 spirit veins. He also wanted to buy this magic weapon, so he asked, "How much is this magic weapon?" 20,000 high-grade spirit stones. I promised a 20% discount, so it'll be 16,000 high-grade spirit stones. This was a fair price. The materials of a dragon were much more expensive than ordinary refining materials. The 2 dragon horns and the spine of a level 5 lower divine beast were worth at least 10,000 high-grade spirit stones. Adding the additional materials and the cost of a level 5 tool refiner, it would cost at least 14,000 high-grade spirit stones. 16,000 high-grade spirit stones was a reasonable price. Wang Daoyuan didn't bargain. He directly took out 16,000 high-grade spirit stones and handed them to the shopkeeper. He counted them. Wu Daoyu is indeed straightforward. Our shop has many auxiliary magic weapons. Daoyu can take a look. Wang Daoyuan put the black dragon halberd into his universe ring and followed the shopkeeper to look at other magic weapons. In the shop where auxiliary magic weapons were stored, he found a magic weapon similar to the one Li Qin used to store the star-patterned sea cucumber. After asking, he learned that this thing was similar to a spirit beast bag and could also store living things. However, it was much more advanced and could only be refined by cultivators who had mastered the law of space. This kind of magic weapon had a larger space and could allow demonic beasts and other creatures to live normally inside. It was much stronger than a spirit beast bag. Even humans could live for a long time inside. But in the end, it was still a high-level space treasure, which was on the same level as a universe ring. There were no spirit veins inside, so spirit beasts and spiritual plants couldn't grow and reproduce. It also needed to be constantly replenished with spiritual power and vitality to maintain the environment inside. It was still far from a real small secret realm. Wang Daoyuan spent 2,000 high-grade spirit stones to buy a ring. In the future, he could store living things in the space of the spiritual pearl without anyone knowing. The magic weapon he bought was called the Life Ring. It had an internal space of 300 square feet. It wasn't completely dark inside, but similar to a secret realm. It was as bright as a rainy day outside. This ring could be placed in the space of the spiritual pearl and filled with seawater to cultivate corals and sea cucumbers. There was no lack of spiritual power and vitality in the spiritual pearl. Setting up a spirit gathering array in the spiritual pearl and placing the ring in the array, there would be a steady flow of spiritual power. It was a bit like the fish cages in his previous life. Chapter 759. Li Chen did not buy any magic tools. The two of them walked around the Tianji Palace for a while before leaving and returning to their own courtyards. This time, they had earned a total of 80,000 high-grade spirit stones. After buying 2 magic tools, they still had more than 60,000 left. The speed of earning spirit stones was faster than cultivators who snatched treasures. However, this was also because they were lucky to have encountered the star-patterned sea cucumber and the coral tree. Normally, they would not have such a good harvest. The risk of going out to sea was not small. Most cultivators only went out once in a while. If they had a harvest, they would exchange it all for cultivation resources and improve their strength as soon as possible. When there were not many resources left, they would go out to sea again. The main purpose of cultivators was to cultivate. This was normal. Li Chen was the same. This time, he had also earned 30,000 high-grade spirit stones, which was enough for him to cultivate for a long time. In addition, the 7 golden core cultivators who played a supporting role were all seriously injured and needed to recuperate for a while. For the time being, he did not plan to go out to sea again. Wang Daoyuan was also happy to be idle. He cultivated step by step in his small courtyard and improved his alchemy and equipment refining skills. When he was free, he would go to the restaurant to see if there was any news of the 5 elements essence. After a year, Wang Daoyuan really did find some information. There were many big shops on Rare Treasure Island. The larger chambers of commerce would have a small auction house. As a result, there were many kinds of auctions. There were auctions once in 100 years, once in a few decades, once in a few years, and even once every year. Wang Daoyuan had also participated in the annual auction a few times. Unfortunately, the level of this auction was too low. There were no precious auction items. Most of them were very ordinary 4th or 5th grade magic tools and equipment refining materials. Wang Daoyuan did need some equipment refining materials to practice, but with Wu Yan's introduction, there were often rogue cultivators selling 4th or 5th grade equipment refining materials. The price of ordinary equipment refining materials in the auction house was too high. However, there was news of the 5 elements essence in the upcoming auction. The 5 elements essence was not very precious here, but the big and small forces would not sell it. A small piece of 5 elements essence was enough to upgrade the spirit vein of the corresponding attribute. To any force, it was extremely valuable. Furthermore, it was often used to refine natal dharma artifacts. Therefore, only rogue cultivators would sell these things. When they were traveling, if they happened to come across the 5 elements essence by chance, it would be useless to them if they didn't have a fixed residence. They would sell them at auctions to earn more resources. This auction house was called the Scarlet Flame Auction House, and the owner was the Scarlet Flame sect. This sect was also a member of the 7 Stars Alliance. Although they didn't have any soul formation cultivators, they still had 3 Yuanying peak stage cultivators. They weren't weak at all. The Crimson Flame Auction House's scale wasn't very large, but it often had good items. He also checked the auction records of the 5 elements essence. The level 4 5 elements essence was not worth much, and the average transaction price was only a few hundred high-grade spirit stones. Rank 5 5 elements essence, the price was especially high. 5th level low-grade ones cost several thousand, and 5th level mid-grade ones cost more than 10,000. Moreover, the bidding pressure was not small. Artificers and cultivators from small forces would all participate in the competition. It wasn't impossible for the price to be raised too high. Wang Daoyuan didn't expect to get a high-grade 5 elements essence, as long as he could get it. Even if it was a level 4 5 elements essence, if placed in the spirit vein in the spiritual pearl space for a few thousand years, it would only grow to 5th level mid-grade. On the day of the auction, Wang Daoyuan went straight to the Crimson Flame Auction House. He didn't disguise himself. If he disguised himself too well, people might associate him with the sword cultivator surnamed Zhou. If he didn't disguise himself well and people saw through him, it would seem that he had a guilty conscience. He might as well go there openly. The 5 elements essence wasn't something important, and no one would chase after a Yuanian cultivator for it. The Crimson Flame auction house was extremely imposing. The entire auction house was built with level 4 artificing materials. At the door were 2 guards at the peak stage Golden Core stage. Wang Daoyuan revealed the aura of a Yuanian cultivator. The 2 hurriedly cupped their hands and said, "Greetings, Senior. Please enter." When Wang Daoyuan walked through the door, a young and beautiful foundation-building female cultivator walked over. He bowed and said, "Please follow me, Senior." This female cultivator was also pitiful. Her clothes were very simple and crude. With this bow, most of what should be revealed and what should not be revealed was revealed. Wang Daoyuan was a dignified gentleman. Of course, he wouldn't look around. He only took a few glances and followed the female cultivator to the second floor. There were dozens of private rooms here. In the middle was a patio, and right below the patio was the auction stage. Around the auction stage on the first floor were some scattered seats. These scattered seats were reserved for Golden Core loose cultivators. After all, doing business mainly relied on cheating loose cultivators to earn spirit stones. This private room was relatively spacious. There was a long chair and a table. On the table, there was a teapot, teacups, and 2 plates of spirit fruits. The female cultivator didn't leave. Instead, she made tea on the side. Her tea skills were quite good. After making the tea, Wang Daoyuan said, "You can leave." The female cultivator looked a bit disappointed and left. To put it bluntly, these female cultivators were gifts for the Yuanian cultivators. If they were chosen, they could become the Yuanian cultivators' concubines. Wang Daoyuan had disguised himself as an ordinary-looking young man. Young Yuanian cultivators were naturally more popular. To these female cultivators, being chosen by such Yuanian cultivators was better than staying here. After a quarter of an hour, a dozen or so Yuanian cultivators arrived on the second floor. Among them was a familiar face. It was young Master Huang. Wang Daoyuan felt it was a bit strange. After all, the Huang family could be considered a local tyrant. If they wanted something, they could have just called. Was there a need to personally bid? There were also more than 100 loose cultivators on the first floor. A middle-stage Yuanian cultivator with white hair and a beard walked to the front of the auction stage. After a few opening remarks, he officially announced the start of the auction. Soon after, a similarly scantily clad female cultivator walked up with a tray. There were 2 pill bottles on the tray. The female cultivator placed the tray on the auction stage and bowed before leaving, revealing quite a bit of her body. A few young Golden Core loose cultivators stared in the direction of the female cultivator for a long time. The auctioneer smiled and said, "These are 2 bottles of nascent cultivating pills. There are 20 pills in total. The starting price is 400 high-grade spirit stones." Although the nascent cultivating pills were useful, there was no need to buy them here. Wang Daoyuan didn't make a move. In the end, the nascent cultivating pills were sold for 600 high-grade spirit stones. Afterward, there were some 5th-grade pills for healing and various refining materials. None of the Yuanian cultivators on the second floor bid. After more than 10 items to warm up the atmosphere, the main course began. A Violet Palace Realm female cultivator walked up with a jade box in her hand. The auctioneer took the box and opened it to reveal a black crystal the size of an adult's forearm. This is a piece of 5th-grade mid-grade Gui water essence. I'm sure everyone knows the value of this item. It's often used to refine water attribute natal magic artifacts. It's also an excellent item for breaking the core and forming the nascent soul. If some clans or sects have low-grade water attribute spirit veins, they only need to infuse a small piece of Gui water essence into it to allow it to grow to the 5th grade. Furthermore, the more Gui water essence is infused, the faster it will grow. The starting price is 7,000 high-grade spirit stones. Each increment must be no less than 100 high-grade spirit stones. The Golden Core loose cultivators on the first floor weren't interested, but the Yuanian cultivators on the second floor were. As soon as the auctioneer finished speaking, a voice from a private room shouted, 8,000. Before the word 1,000 could be said, someone else called out, 9,000. This was Wang Daoyuan's goal, so he naturally wouldn't give up. 10,000. At this moment, a familiar voice called out, 12,000. This voice belonged to young Master Huang. Judging from his bid, he seemed determined to win. Chapter 760. A 5th-grade mid-grade Gui water essence would only cost a little more than 10,000 high-grade spirit stones. 12,000 for this item was already a huge premium. The entire Huang clan lived on this rare treasure island. There were 6th-grade spirit veins on the island and no other small spirit veins, so there was no need to cultivate them. If they were only buying it to refine magic tools, there was no need to spend such a high price. The reason he stayed here was to obtain the 5 elements essence. Who knew how long it would take for a piece to appear? Naturally, he couldn't let it go. He raised the price, 13,000. Hearing this, young Master Huang panicked. By bidding such a high price, he was telling others that this item was his. The other cultivators didn't dare to bid any more for fear of offending the Huang clan. This person dared to be so arrogant. He clearly didn't care about the Huang clan. Young Master Huang warned, Daoyu, my Huang clan wants this item. If you still don't know what's good for you, don't blame me for being merciless. Just as he finished speaking, the auctioneer snorted, Young Master Huang, this is my Scarlet Flame sect's territory. It's not your Huang clan's place to behave atrociously. If you dare to provoke us again, even old Master Huang can't protect you. Young Master Huang's anger was not small, I'm just talking to Daoyu. Even the 3 major forces of the 7 Stars Alliance can't do anything about it. As long as I don't do anything, your Scarlet Flame sect can't do anything about it. At this moment, Wang Daoyuan finally understood what was going on. No wonder young Master Huang personally came to bid for the item instead of making a private deal. It seemed that the Huang clan and the Scarlet Flame sect were not on good terms. The auctioneer was a little impatient, are you going to bid or not? If not, the Gui water essence will belong to Daoyu. Young Master Huang snorted and didn't say anything else. Now that the Gui water essence had become a hot potato, no one dared to bid anymore. After the auctioneer announced the deal, the competition for the Gui water essence was settled. After that, a few other valuable magic tools were auctioned. However, there were none that Wang Daoyuan needed, so he didn't bid anymore. A female golden core cultivator came up with a jade box. She looked even more solemn than the Gui water essence from before. In terms of appearance and figure, this female cultivator was 1 in a million. To be able to cultivate to the golden core realm, his talent must not be bad. It would not be difficult for a female cultivator like her to marry into a major force. Yet, she was here as a maidservant. The Scarlet Flame sect's methods were quite strong. The auctioneer took the jade box and said with a smile, I'm afraid many of the cultivators here are here for this item. After saying that, he opened the jade box, and a rich astral energy gushed out. This is a level 5 stellar core. Everyone here is a golden core and Yuanian cultivator. Everyone here is clear about the uses of a stellar core. By absorbing pure yin and pure yang qi, it could be converted into astral energy. The power of the stars could strengthen the physical body and divine sense. Regardless of whether it was a golden core cultivator preparing to break through to the nascent soul realm, Yuaniing, or soul formation cultivators, they all needed the power of the stars. This star core is 3 inches in diameter, and the starting price is 30,000 high-grade spirit stones. Wang Daoyuan did not dare to bid for this item. He only had about 60,000 high-grade spirit stones to begin with. Although he had earned some spirit stones from selling elixirs and dharma artifacts in the past year, it was only about 70,000. He had already spent 13,000 on the Gui water essence, so he had less than 60,000 left. In the Sea of 7 Stars, if one could cultivate to the Yuaniing level, the value of a stellar core would naturally be much higher than that in Beiyuan. Even a level 4 stellar core was worth 1 to 2,000 high-grade spirit stones. The starting price of this stellar core was 30,000, and it was also an extremely valuable item. The market price was 70 to 80,000. Moreover, Wang Daoyuan did not lack this item. There were 2 more stellar cores in the spiritual pearl space, and 1 more in the meteoric fire-controlling gourd. With the purple aura, the 2 stellar cores produced enough astral energy for him to use. On the other hand, the competition between young Master Huang and a few cultivators from the local forces was very intense. In the end, young Master Huang bought the stellar core at the price of 95,000 high-grade spirit stones. Wang Daoyuan couldn't help but sigh. The Huang family's wealth was indeed impressive. Now that the stellar core had an owner, the auction came to an end. A Violet Palace Realm female cultivator was escorted by an early-stage Yuanian cultivator to Wang Daoyuan's room with a jade box in her hand. Wang Daoyuan took the jade box and checked the Gui water essence. There was nothing wrong with it. He took out 13,000 high-grade spirit stones and handed them to the early-stage Yuanian cultivator. After the Yuanian cultivator counted the spirit stones, he sent a voice transmission, "Our shopkeeper has invited you. Please follow me, Daoyu." The Scarlet Flame sect was at odds with the Huang family, and now he had offended the Huang family. There was an 80% chance that the Scarlet Flame sect wanted to rope him in and make the Huang family look bad. As long as his identity wasn't exposed, the Scarlet Flame sect wouldn't do anything to him. Wang Daoyuan put away the Gui water essence and followed the early-stage Yuanian cultivator to the 3rd floor. In front of a beautifully decorated door, the early-stage Yuanian cultivator cupped his hands and said, "Shopkeeper, I have brought Wu Daoyu here." A dignified female voice sounded, "You may leave." The early-stage Yuanian cultivator excused himself, and the door opened by itself. A fragrant wind blew in. The female voice sounded again, but it didn't sound as dignified as before. Instead, it sounded much gentler. "Wu Daoyu, please come in." Judging from the spirit energy fluctuations, this person was only at the mid-stage Yuanian realm. There was nothing to be afraid of. Wang Daoyuan walked into the room and saw that the decorations were extremely luxurious. The tables and chairs were all made of 5th-grade spirit wood. The tablecloth was made of fabric and emitted the aura of a low-grade 5th-grade spirit stone. A female cultivator wearing a dark red robe and a veil sat at the head of the table. She waved her hand and said, "Wu Daoyu, please take a seat." Wang Daoyuan sat on the chair furthest away from the woman and asked, "Shopkeeper, may I know why you are looking for me?" The woman chuckled. "Wu Daoyu offended young Master Huang today. I'm afraid you won't have a good time on Rare Treasure Island in the future. Do you have a countermeasure?" Wang Daoyuan smiled. "If I can stay on Rare Treasure Island, then I'll stay. If I can't, then I'll travel elsewhere. The sea is vast and there's no place for me to stay. However, I don't understand why the Huang family wants the Gui water essence." The woman answered, "The Huang family's foundation is on Rare Treasure Island, but the 7 Stars Alliance and Blood Shark have the final say on Rare Treasure Island. In addition, the territory is too small and can't support many mortals. Without enough mortals as a foundation, a cultivation family is like a castle in the air that can collapse at any time. Therefore, the Huang family wants to build a family foundation in other places. They bought a piece of land on Heavenly Jade Island with only a 3rd-grade spirit vein and want to build a backup plan for the Huang family. This time, young Master Huang bought the 5 elements essence to upgrade the spirit vein as soon as possible. You bought the Gui water essence, so it's inevitable that the Huang family will hold a grudge against you. In addition, you beat up the Blood Sea twin dragons, so the Huang family has a grudge against you. My Scarlet Flame sect has always disliked the Huang family's actions, so naturally, we won't let the Huang family touch Daoyu. As long as Daoyu is willing to join my Scarlet Flame sect, the Huang family won't dare to touch Daoyu." Wang Daoyuan was a wanted criminal of the 7 Stars Alliance. Naturally, he wouldn't join. He declined. "My long-cherished wish is to build a force of my own. I really don't have any thoughts of joining other forces. I appreciate your kindness, shopkeeper." However, I'm a little curious as to why you want to recruit me. The Scarlet Flame sect is also a large sect. There are many people who are stronger than me. There's really no reason to recruit me. Wu Dao Yu is too modest. An early-stage Yuanian cultivator with 5 spirit veins is extremely valuable. Dao Yu isn't old. He's only a little over 300 years old. At such a young age, he can cultivate to the early-stage Yuanian. He can also raise his blacksmithing and alchemy skills to 4th grade middle grade. His talent is also considered excellent. There's a high possibility that he can break through to the soul formation realm in the future. Compared to those truly large forces, my Scarlet Flame sect only lacks a soul formation cultivator. If Dao Yu can join the Scarlet Flame sect, with the sect's nurturing, breaking through to the soul formation realm is just around the corner. Of course, Wang Daoyuan didn't believe this. The Scarlet Flame sect really needed a soul formation cultivator, but they wouldn't put in all their effort to nurture an outsider. He still couldn't figure out what the shopkeeper was up to. Chapter 761. This shopkeeper had been avoiding the topic. He was most likely trying to use him as an excuse. With the Huang family's power, it was impossible for them to not obtain the 5 elements essence. They only wanted the Gui water essence to speed up the growth of the spirit vein. The Huang family might hold a grudge against him for such a small matter. At most, they would threaten and bribe him. The next time he went out to sea, they would send someone to assassinate him. They wouldn't do it in the market. Wang Daoyuan still had close to 60,000 high-grade spirit stones. He didn't need them for his cultivation. He could stay in the market for a long time in the future. Therefore, he wasn't in any mortal danger for now. However, the Scarlet Flame sect and the Huang family were old enemies. How could he, a lone cultivator, get involved in the fight between the two forces? It was like putting a bean between 2 millstones. If a bean was put in, it would come out as bean dregs. He was that bean. He had nothing better to do. Why would he get involved in this matter? He declined. My ambition isn't here. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave. Then, he turned to leave. The shopkeeper quickly said, since Wu Daoyu isn't willing to join us, you can be a guest elder of the Scarlet Flame sect. Wang Daoyuan didn't even think about it. Shopkeeper, I appreciate your kindness. Being a guest elder meant being tied to the Scarlet Flame sect's worship. No matter what the actual situation was, as long as he became a guest elder, he would be a member of the Scarlet Flame sect in the eyes of the Huang family. When the time came, the Huang family might start to mess with him in the market. Would the Scarlet Flame sect spend a lot of effort to protect him? Whoever did something with risks and no benefits would be a fool. The shopkeeper didn't try to dissuade him anymore. Wang Daoyuan walked out of the auction house and returned to his small courtyard. He kept the Gui water essence in the space of the spirit pearl and placed it on the spirit vein crystal of the water attribute spirit vein. After 100 years in the space of the spirit pearl, it would probably merge into one. He definitely couldn't go out to sea now. He planned to stay in his small courtyard and practice refining and alchemy. Although the 3 treasures tool nurturing technique was special, it was an extension of refining techniques. There were certain requirements for refining techniques. Wang Daoyuan's 4th tier middle grade refining technique was really not enough. The cultivating nascent soul pill was a middle grade tier 5 medicinal pill, and Wang Daoyuan's alchemy level was still far from it. Less than a day after returning to the small courtyard, Wang Daoyuan was forging a shield. Someone came to visit. Wang Daoyuan checked with his divine sense and found that it was Li Chen and an early-stage Yuanian cultivator. This guy looked a little like young Master Huang. There was no doubt that the Huang family was here to cause trouble. Wang Daoyuan used his spiritual sense to shut down the defensive array formation of the small courtyard, shouted, "Come in," and then continued to forge the shield. His side was full of clanging and clanging noises, and there was no way for them to talk. The 2 of them could only wait in the courtyard. After an hour, Wang Daoyuan finished forging the shield. He walked out of the earth fire room and said with a smile, "Brotherly, and this is Dao Yu Huang, what's the matter?" Li Chen replied, "When you bought the Gui water essence at the auction house, the Huang family came to me and asked you to hand over the Gui water essence." "Dao Yu Huang, I've said what I wanted to say. Can we go now?" Wang Daoyuan said with a smile, "I've implicated Brother Li. I'm afraid I can't sail with Brother Li anymore." The Huang family cultivator just nodded and Li Chen left the small courtyard. This matter had nothing to do with him. In the end, it was Wang Daoyuan who implicated him. It was reasonable to leave now, and Wang Daoyuan had nothing to say. At this time, the Huang family cultivator said, "Wu Daoyu, you stole something from my Huang family. Shouldn't you return it?" Wang Daoyuan asked back, "What did I steal from your Huang family? I don't even know where your Huang family's door is." "Wu Daoyu, don't play dumb. The 10th water essence should belong to my Huang family. You took something you shouldn't have. Hand it over now and my Huang family can be your backer in the future. I guarantee that no one will dare to bully you on Rare Treasures Island. If you don't hand it over, although my Huang family is far inferior to the Seven Stars Alliance and Blood Shark, it's still easy for us to kill a rogue cultivator." These words made Wang Daoyuan angry. Last time, when he bought the coral tree at a low price, it wasn't necessary. It was also good to exchange it for spirit stones. Losing a few spirit stones could avoid trouble, so it was also acceptable. But this time, it was too much. The 10th water essence was something he urgently needed. If the Huang family wanted to take it for free, how could there be such a good thing? He flatly refused. "I bought this 10th water essence from the Scarlet Flame Auction House." "Is the Scarlet Flame Auction House opened by your Huang family?" "This thing has never been in the hands of your Huang family. How did it become your Huang family's property?" "I bought it from the auction fair and square. The highest bidder wins the auction. I'm just a rogue cultivator. In terms of financial resources, I can't compare with your Huang family. You don't want to spend spirit stones to buy it, so you want me to hand it over for free?" The Huang family cultivator's face was full of anger, but he still controlled his temper and said, "The protection of my Huang family is more valuable than a piece of 10th water essence. If you don't hand it over, I'm afraid Dao Yu won't live long." Wang Daoyuan sneered, "The biggest danger on Rare Treasures Island is the Huang family. I'll be safe as long as you don't interfere. So I didn't get anything and just gave the Huang family a piece of 10th water essence. There's nothing to talk about. Don't forget to close the door when you leave." The Huang family cultivator coldly snorted, "You want to go against my Huang family? I'm afraid you won't be able to stay on Rare Treasures Island." After saying that, he slammed the door and left. Wang Daoyuan closed the courtyard door and activated the formation. He continued to refine the shield in his hand. This shield was refined with 4th-tier upper-grade materials. He was also trying to refine a 4th-tier upper-grade magic tool. After spending half a day, he finished inscribing the tool pattern. Then, he took out a 4th-tier lower-grade crafting cauldron and placed it on the fire eye. He placed the shield into the crafting cauldron and slowly nurtured it. A 4th-tier upper-grade magic tool would take at least a few months to nurture. However, the crafting cauldron was relatively large and could nurture multiple magic tools at the same time. After finishing the refinement, Wang Daoyuan meditated beside the fire and extracted the fire spirit energy for cultivation. 3 months later, the shield was completely nurtured. After taking it out from the crafting cauldron, it emitted the spirit energy fluctuation of a 4th-tier upper-grade magic tool. With this, the refinement was considered a success. Now, he could be considered a 4th-tier upper-grade craftsman. Cultivators who could survive on an outer sea island like Rare Treasures Island were at least at the late stage of the Golden Core realm. There wasn't much of a market for 4th-tier middle-grade magic tools. With this 4th-tier upper-grade magic tool, it would be relatively easy to earn spirit stones in the future. However, he didn't show up in the past few months, and the Huang family didn't come looking for trouble. Wang Daoyuan put away the crafting cauldron and prepared to refine a 4th-tier upper-grade pill. At this moment, there was a slight change in the array formation in the courtyard. He spread out his divine sense but didn't find anything. There wasn't even a bug near the courtyard. The defensive array formation in the courtyard was very stable and wouldn't change for no reason. Someone definitely came in. He immediately thought that an assassin might have broken in. His identity wasn't exposed, and only the Huang family wanted to deal with him. This should be the Huang family sending an assassin to deal with him. However, sending an assassin to cause trouble for him was completely displaying one's slight skill in front of an expert. He was very experienced in dealing with assassins. Even Zhou Wan, the leader of the assassins, had been completely subdued. Ordinary small tricks were like child's play in front of him. The forces in the Sea of Seven Stars changed very quickly. It was impossible for there to be an assassination force like Blood's Shadow that had lasted for tens of thousands of years. The cultivation of the assassins here was definitely higher, but in terms of assassination and concealment methods, they might not be comparable to Blood's Shadow. Wang Daoyuan used the dragonification technique. A layer of dragon scales appeared on his body, but there was no obvious change in his figure. In this way, ordinary methods wouldn't be able to seriously injure him. Then, he used the tiger soul subduing technique. This technique originated from Yin Yi's tiger roar and had a very strong soul subduing effect. Even if it couldn't cause a substantial threat to Yuanying, it was still very likely to expose her. As expected, a tiger roar sounded, and a trace of obvious spirit energy fluctuation appeared in the courtyard. Chapter 762. How could Wang Daoyuan let go of such an opportunity? An illusory dragon claw materialized in his hand and clawed at the area of the courtyard where there were spirit energy fluctuations. The assassin's escape technique was quite good. A black shadow flashed and instantly dodged Wang Daoyuan's attack. But once he used his escape technique, his concealment technique was exposed. This person's cultivation was at the early stage of Yuanying. His face was masked and he wore black tights. Since he looked like a man, there was no need to keep him alive. Wang Daoyuan had already grasped the black dragon halberd in his hand and used the true dragon levitation technique to chase after the assassin. The assassin's escape technique's advantage was that it was relatively quiet and not fast. It was far inferior to the true dragon levitation technique. Wang Daoyuan came to the assassin's side and suddenly swung the halberd in his hand. The assassin also took out a pitch-black longsword to block. Unfortunately, with a heavy weapon like the black dragon halberd and Wang Daoyuan's physical strength, how could an assassin resist in close combat? The two weapons clashed, producing a piercing sound. The assassin's sword was unable to block, and the black dragon halberd smashed into his chest. Then, with a crack that sounded like a bone breaking, the assassin flew backward and crashed into the defensive formation. Before he could recover, Wang Daoyuan had already closed in. His left hand transformed into a giant dragon claw and grabbed the assassin. The assassin struggled with all his might, but he was completely unable to shake off the dragon claw. A moment later, the spirit energy fluctuations in his body disappeared. He was abandoning his physical body and escaping with his Yuanying. Wang Daoyuan was already prepared. The black tortoise purgatory, which he had modified to capture his opponents alive, was extremely effective against Yuanying. A black water ball with a diameter of 6 feet instantly appeared and enveloped the assassin's entire body. The moment the Yuanying's head appeared, he realized that something was wrong. He used a spell to attack the black tortoise purgatory in an attempt to escape. Unfortunately, his attack was still too weak. The black tortoise purgatory quickly shrunk and firmly trapped the Yuanying. After that, he put the assassin's Yuanying and corpse into the space of the spirit pearl, and slowly burned the Yuanying with flames. Wang Daoyuan's doppelganger soul nurturing technique was too shallow, so he did not dare to use it on Yuanying cultivators. There were many other soul-searching techniques as well, but none of them were useful against Yuanying cultivators. In any case, he didn't need to think too much to know that this person was sent by the Huang family. There was no need to take the risk of searching his soul. Although there was a lot of noise in the courtyard, the array had a soundproof effect, so it wouldn't spread out. The only thing that happened was the assassin crashing into the defensive formation. There were some traces of fighting in the courtyard, so he cast a spell to erase them. Since the Huang family had sent an assassin to kill him, they must have wanted to kill him in this city. Since the assassination had failed, it was very likely that he would try something else. It was better to clean up the traces first so that other evidence would not be caught. 15 minutes later, the assassin's Yuanying was burned to ashes, and a huge amount of spiritual power was scattered into the space of the spirit pearl. Naturally, there was no need to keep his body, but the equipment he was wearing was a low-grade 5th-level magic tool, which could somewhat avoid detection by divine sense. After removing the equipment, he burned the corpse to ashes. His harvest was not small. In addition to his equipment, he also obtained a black longsword of lower rank 5 and a universe ring. Doppelganger Blood Flame opened the interspatial ring to check the situation inside. There were only a few thousand upper-grade spirit stones, a token, an inch-wide pearl, a dozen nascent cultivating pills, and a few 9 death resurrection pills. There were no cultivation methods, spells, or anything like that. This could only mean that this guy's cultivation technique and spell came from an assassin organization. There were strange patterns carved on the token. On the front, there was a black dragon with blood-red eyes, and on the back, there were 2 words, Ghost Snake. These words were the current common language of the Qixing Si Shuxian community, unlike the words on Blood Shadow's token, which were from ancient times. It could also be seen that this assassin organization did not have a long history. The blood-eyed black dragon should be the symbol of this organization, and the ghost snake should be the code name of this assassin. Wang Daoyuan couldn't tell what this bead Dharma artifact was. He probed it with his divine sense, and there seemed to be runes and tool patterns inside. After injecting spiritual power, there was a slight fluctuation in the defensive formation nearby. As he got closer, the fluctuation in the defensive formation became more intense. It seemed that this was the method the assassin used to enter the courtyard without breaking the formation. The blacksmithing inheritance he obtained in the school of the Emperor Star of the 7 Stars Secret Realm mentioned this kind of magic tool, but it was extremely difficult to refine. It required at least a 5th-level blacksmith to refine this kind of thing. This magic tool was called the formation-breaking bead. If placed at the weak point of the formation, one could enter the formation without breaking it or causing a big commotion. Of course, this required a deep understanding of the formation. If one encountered a completely unfamiliar formation and could not find the weak point of the formation-breaking bead would be useless. The small courtyard's defensive formation was set up when the Rare Treasure Islands market was established, and there was nothing special about it. It had probably been figured out by these guys, so it was reasonable that it was broken by the formation-breaking bead. After dealing with the assassin, Wang Daoyuan returned to the earth fire room as if nothing had happened. He took out the alchemy furnace and began to refine pills. He was going to refine a 4th-grade upper-grade pill, the blood essence strengthening pill. The main purpose of this pill was to strengthen the physical body, and it was also a pill commonly consumed by golden core body-tempering cultivators in the Sea of 7 Stars. The ingredients were easy to find, and most of them were from demon beasts. There were fewer ingredients for refining pills. As a Yuanying cultivator, Wang Daoyuan naturally had an easier time refining 4th-grade pills, and his speed was also very fast. After half a day, it was time for the pills to fuse with the essence of the spiritual objects. At that moment, someone gently touched the formation at the courtyard's door. This was a courtesy to inform the owner that someone had come to visit. Wang Daoyuan used his divine sense to investigate and found a mid-stage Yuanying cultivator standing at the door. One of them was wearing the uniform of the guards, so he should be from the guards. More than 1,000 feet behind him stood 3 early-stage Yuanying cultivators. 2 of them were from the guards, and the last one was the Huang family cultivator who came to threaten him earlier. If Wang Daoyuan did not open the door for the guards, he might offend them. In the Rare Treasure Islands market, the guards could not be offended. He used his divine sense to control the formation and opened an opening at the courtyard's door to let them in. Anyway, with his strength, these people would not be able to take his life. The 4 of them entered the courtyard, and Wang Daoyuan said, I'm in the middle of refining pills, and it's the critical moment of condensing the pills. Please wait for a moment, Dao Yu. The Huang family cultivator said angrily, Wu, do you have any respect for your seniors? Vice Commander Lin of the guards is here, and you don't even come out to welcome him. Wang Daoyuan said with a smile, I have eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. I didn't know that Vice Commander Lin was here. However, I'm at the critical moment of condensing the pills, and I can't be distracted. Please forgive me, Vice Commander Lin. Vice Commander Lin's temper was not bad, and he did not seem angry. It's fine. It's rude of us to visit so suddenly. It's fine to wait for a while. The Huang family cultivator still did not let it go. How dare you? You know Vice Commander Lin's identity, and you still dare to ask him to wait. It was easy to deal with the King of Hell, but difficult to deal with the little ghosts. Vice Commander Lin didn't say anything, but he began to shout. Wang Daoyuan also scolded angrily, Huang, do you have any respect for your seniors? Vice Commander Lin is fine with it, and you're still not satisfied? What, is your status higher than Vice Commander Lin? The Huang family cultivator was at a loss for words, not knowing what to say. The other two early-stage Yuanian guards also looked at him with gloating expressions. Vice Commander Lin said, it's best not to be disturbed while refining pills. Second young Master Huang, please calm down. Half a day later, the pill was condensed. The formed pills fell into the pill furnace, and Wang Daoyuan condensed a few fire-controlling patterns. All that was left was to nourish the pills. He stood up and walked out of the courtyard, leading the four people into the room. He cupped his hands and asked, May I know why Vice Commander Lin has come to my humble abode? Chapter 763. Second young Master Huang must have accompanied Vice Commander Lin here to cause trouble. He didn't go out at all during this time, so the only trouble he could find was related to the assassin. Wang Daoyuan was a little curious. What excuse could second young Master Huang find to mess with him when he encountered an assassin? Sure enough, Deputy Commander Lin replied, Second young Master Huang reported that you were fighting with someone. Our guard team specially came to investigate the situation. Wang Daoyuan asked with a smile, when and where did I fight with someone? Second young Master Huang's face was smug, in this courtyard. Last night, someone saw violent fluctuations in the array of your courtyard. It must have been caused by a fight with someone. Wang Daoyuan was angry and amused. After messing around for so long, this was it? Dare I ask second young Master Huang, you said that I was fighting with someone. Who saw it? I've been refining this cauldron of pills since 2 days ago. When you came, you should have seen that my pills were about to be formed. It takes at least a day to form a 4th-level high-grade pill. In other words, I've been refining pills since a day ago. Could it be that I was fighting with someone when I was refining pills? Dare I ask Deputy Commander Lin, does the fluctuations in the defensive array of a private residence violate the rules of the market square? Deputy Commander Lin replied, as long as there's no fighting in this market square and no violation of the basic rules during transactions, there's no problem. Array fluctuations naturally don't count. Even if a person cultivates a spell at home, as long as it doesn't affect outside the array, it doesn't violate any rules. Wang Daoyuan glanced at second young Master Huang. Dare I ask Dao Yu, who saw me fighting with someone? Who was the person I fought with? Second young Master Huang held back for a long time before saying, last night, someone saw a black-clothed man climb over the wall and enter this courtyard. After that, the array fluctuated violently. That black-clothed man never came out again. He must have been killed by you. Since you killed someone, there must be a fight. Wang Daoyuan asked back, since someone saw it, why didn't they report it immediately to the guard team? Why did they only report it today? Moreover, that person didn't report it directly to the guard team but first reported it to Dao Yu. Could it be that the person in charge of this marketplace is the Huang clan? Second young Master Huang was once again at a loss for words. After a long time, he said, since that cultivator came in, he must still be in this courtyard. Even if Dao Yu destroyed the corpse, there will still be traces. Do you dare to hand over your interspatial ring and let Vice Commander Lin search it? Wang Daoyuan ignored him. Instead, he asked Vice Commander Lin, "Vice Commander Lin, may I ask if it's just a random person who makes a report and doesn't have any evidence to back it up? If it's possible, I'll report that someone saw the Huang family fighting with someone last night and even killed someone. Why don't Vice Commander Lin go and search the entire Huang clan?" Second young Master Huang was furious. "Impudent child." Vice Commander Lin glanced at him and said to Wang Daoyuan with a smile, "Of course we can't do that. If we don't have any proof, our guards can only come to ask and not search directly. Since there's no such thing, then let's forget about it." Second young Master Huang, "The Huang clan shouldn't be too arrogant. This rare treasure island market square is still the territory of the Seven Stars Alliance and the Shueisha. The Scarlet Flame sect isn't the only one who doesn't like the Huang clan. You're on your own now. We won't disturb Wu Daoyu any further. Goodbye." After saying that, he led the two guards outside. Wang Daoyuan sent them to the door. Second young Master Huang didn't have the face to stay any longer. He snorted coldly and left in a huff. After returning to the small courtyard and activating the formation, Wang Daoyuan fell into deep thought. He had underestimated the Huang clan's vengeful heart. They had already started to assassinate him. This time, they had sent an early-stage Yuanying assassin, who had directly disappeared from the face of the earth. This had also exposed a part of his strength. The Huang clan knew that an early-stage Yuanying cultivator couldn't take him down. It was very likely that they would send a mid-stage Yuanying cultivator. It wasn't very likely that they would send a late-stage Yuanying cultivator. No matter where it was, such a cultivation base was already considered high. If they wanted to invite such an expert, they would have to pay a hefty price. Next time, a mid-stage Yuanying cultivator might come to assassinate him. If he disappeared again, it was very likely that a late-stage Yuanying cultivator would come to investigate. If he encountered a late-stage Yuanying cultivator, he would have no choice but to use his sword cultivation techniques to protect himself. In order to avoid a confrontation with a late-stage Yuanying cultivator, he had to leave Rare Treasures Island before a mid-stage Yuanying cultivator arrived. This way, even if he encountered an assassin outside the market square, he would only encounter a mid-stage Yuanying cultivator. Ordinary mid-stage Yuanying cultivators could kill him with their body-tempering techniques. If he ran now, it would appear that he had ulterior motives. It was better to wait for a period of time. He modified the formation in the courtyard and changed the trajectory of the formation's weak points. This way, even if he had the formation breaking bead, he wouldn't be able to quickly enter. Fighting was prohibited in the market square. Even the Huang clan couldn't openly attack. The formation breaking bead wouldn't be effective. The assassins couldn't forcefully break through the formation, but they could at least delay for a period of time. 2 months later, the medicinal pills were completely nourished. A cauldron of blood essence strengthening pills produced a total of 3 pills. With this level of skill, he could be considered a high-grade 4th-stage pill refinement master. 2 months had passed since the assassination attempt, and the limelight was considered to have passed. It wasn't strange for him to leave now. Wang Daoyuan packed up his things and walked straight out of the market square. His courtyard was located in the southwest corner of the market square, which was also towards the south gate. When he reached the south gate, Wang Daoyuan flashed his token, and the gate's formation opened. He walked out of the gate and was blocked by 2 peak golden core cultivators. One of them bowed and said, "Senior Wu, please wait a moment before you go out. Someone wants to see you." It seemed that these cultivators guarding the gate had been bribed. They wanted to stall for time and give the assassin a chance to kill him. Wang Daoyuan asked, "May I ask if the person who wants to see me is a member of the guards or a higher up in the market square?" The golden core cultivator didn't dare to lie and directly answered, "Neither." Hearing this, Wang Daoyuan ignored him and walked straight forward. The 2 peak golden core cultivators naturally didn't dare to stop him. There was no reason for a golden core cultivator to be disrespectful to a Yuanying cultivator. Even if they fought, they would be the unlucky ones. After leaving, he took out a mid-grade 4th stage flying boat and headed south. He couldn't stay on Rare Treasure Island anymore. The other prosperous islands were either under the control of the Seven Stars Alliance or Blood Shark. They were all very dangerous for him. In this way, the Myriad Devil Island became his only choice. Rare Treasure Island was located on the main sea route between the 7 Big Islands and the Myriad Devil Island. There were still many rumors about the Myriad Devil Island. The current Myriad Devil Island was still in a chaotic situation. There were many big and small forces, and there were also a few soul formation cultivators. However, there weren't any big forces like the Seven Stars Alliance or Blood Shark like the Sea of Seven Stars. The forces there were still fighting for themselves. Most of the islands were still under the control of no forces. This kind of place was the most suitable for rogue cultivators. Even if something big happened, they wouldn't be forced into a corner. The flying boat flew for more than 10,000 miles. More than 300 miles behind, an extremely fast flying boat caught up. This speed was at least 20,000 miles in 2 hours. It wasn't that he had never seen a high-grade 4th stage warship before, but it wasn't so fast. This should be a 5th stage flying boat. Usually, 5th stage flying boats rarely appeared on Rare Treasure Island. It was a coincidence that he encountered a 5th stage flying boat when he was escaping from this place. It was most likely sent by the Huang family. Under such circumstances, it was impossible to escape with speed. Wang Daoyuan put away the flying boat and fled straight down. Below was an endless coral reef. As long as he could escape, with his concealment methods, even a soul formation cultivator wouldn't be able to do anything to him. Seeing him escape, 2 figures flew out of the 5th stage flying boat. One of them was young Master Huang, who he knew, and the other was unfamiliar. However, the aura emitted from this person was somewhat similar to that of Ghost Snake, who he killed before. He was most likely from that assassin organization. Young Master Huang smiled and said, "Wu Daoyu, why are you leaving in such a hurry? I'm here to see you off." Chapter 764. The assassin also threatened, "You killed Ghost Snake. If you surrender now, I'll give you a quick death. If you put up a stubborn resistance, I have a lot of methods to torture you. When the time comes, I'm afraid you'll be begging for death." Both of them were mid-stage Yuanian cultivators. With Wang Daoyuan's strength, killing a Yuanian cultivator who didn't have any minor abilities wasn't difficult. However, it would be very difficult to deal with both of them at the same time. Although the Huang family didn't have a deep foundation, they still had 4 generations of savings. In addition, old Master Huang was a peak Yuanian cultivator. The Huang family's heritage was definitely not weak, and they had many life-saving methods. The other person was from an assassin organization. These people spent most of their energy on assassinations, so they weren't very strong in a direct confrontation. However, with young Master Huang holding him back, and the mid-stage Yuanian assassin waiting for an opportunity to launch a sneak attack, they were still a great threat. He definitely wasn't a match for them in the air. When the time came, he would have no choice but to reveal his sword cultivation methods. If he was too obvious in the air, he could very well expose his identity. At that time, he would attract the attention of the Seven Stars Alliance and Blood Shark cultivators. However, things were different in the sea. Using the true dragon body tempering art to transform his body into a true dragon was very suitable for fighting underwater. Killing 2 mid-stage Yuanian cultivators wasn't difficult. Young Master Huang and the assassin naturally didn't know about his methods, so they didn't want him to escape into the water. The coral reef below was too complicated. Many of them were 3rd or 4th grade materials for refining tools, so they were very effective against divine sense detection. The 2 of them couldn't fly over in time, so they took out their magic tools to stop Wang Daoyuan. 2 flying swords, 1 silver and 1 black, attacked him. These 2 weren't sword cultivators, so their attacks were only so-so. Wang Daoyuan took out his black dragon halberd. When the flying swords came close, he swung the halberd and smashed the two flying swords. The black jade flood dragon's horn was very strong. The two flying swords did not leave any marks on the surface. Instead, the two flying swords were sent flying. There were no more obstacles in front of Wang Daoyuan, and he went straight into the crevice of the coral reef. The two of them came to the place where he had entered the water. The assassin asked, "Young Master Huang, this person is very cunning. Should we stop here or go into the sea to kill him?" Young Master Huang didn't even give it a second thought. "This brat has disgraced our Huang clan. How can we let him leave just like that? You've also lost a cultivator, and you're willing to let him go just like that?" The assassin gritted his teeth and said, "I personally groomed Ghost Snake, he's like my disciple. Now that he's fallen in the hands of that kid surnamed Wu, I can't wait to skin him alive. It's just that my probing methods aren't very useful in this coral reef. This brat is also a body cultivator. If we are ambushed by him, we really won't be his match." Young Master Huang said disdainfully, "Although the heritage of my Huang family is not as good as those big forces, it is still not something that ordinary rogue cultivators can compare with. My clan's old ancestors started by hunting demonic beasts in the sea. A mere loose cultivator wants to escape by jumping into the water? Wishful thinking. So you're saying that we should go into the water together to hunt him down?" Young Master Huang smiled and said, "It's still too dangerous. I'll use some tricks to attract sharks and make him unable to stay in the sea. Then, we'll wait on the flying boat. If he dares to show his face, he'll definitely die." Then, he took out a jade bottle and poured out a few drops of dark red liquid. The liquid dissolved as soon as it entered the water. At this moment, Wang Daoyuan didn't run far. Instead, he hid in a coral reef at the bottom of the sea. After young Master Huang dripped a few drops of the liquid, he smelled a faint scent of blood. Previously, when he was hunting demonic beasts with the Black Ice Fairy, he saw a similar trick that could attract sharks. Being surrounded by sharks in the sea, even if they were only rank 4 sharks, was enough to kill. If a tier 5 were to appear, then there would be no way out for them. However, he didn't want to leave just like that. He was forced to leave Rare Treasures Island by the Huang family, which delayed his search for the 5 elements essence. He wouldn't feel good if he didn't vent his anger. After floating more than 1,000 feet below the surface of the sea, he used the true dragon flight technique and flew towards the south. Using the technique at this depth, the two of them could still detect some movements. Young Master Huang wasn't a water element cultivator. It was almost impossible for him to pass through the countless corals and attack 1,000 feet below the surface of the sea. Naturally, the two of them were unwilling to let Wang Daoyuan wander around so brazenly. He steered the flying boat and lowered its altitude. The assassin condensed a few small black swords in his hand and flew towards Wang Daoyuan. Wang Daoyuan condensed a phantom dragon claw to meet the small black swords. The dragon claw was penetrated by the black swords and completely collapsed. He had no choice but to summon the black dragon halberd and swing it with all his might to smash the small black swords. Many of the corals in the surroundings were also shattered by this attack. The small black swords condensed from spiritual energy naturally couldn't withstand this attack. Under the halberd, they scattered into black spiritual energy. If the two of them didn't come down, it wouldn't be a good idea to continue wasting time like this. He couldn't keep swimming in the sea. At this moment, he needed to play a mind game. Wang Daoyuan used the tiger soul subduing roar technique and said, "Young Master Blood Dragon, your courage doesn't seem like Blood Dragon's son. The Blood Dragon duo is your younger brother, right? Although they're a bit weaker, they're much more courageous than you. They dare to fight me head-on. Your Yuanying middle stage cultivation has been fed to the dogs." Hearing this, young Master Huang was furious. Blood Dragon was already a taboo in the Huang family. Now, he was being scolded in public. He was Master Huang's son, but now he was being scolded as Blood Dragon's son. Since he was born, the Huang family had been the third most powerful force on Rare Treasure Island. Even the Seven Stars Alliance and Blood Shark gave the Huang family some face. When had they ever been treated like this? He put away the flying boat and held the long sword in his hand. He cursed angrily, "Little bastard surnamed Wu, don't run if you have the guts. Today, I'll teach you how to be a man." The assassin hurriedly tried to stop him. Young Master Huang said angrily, "Get lost." The assassin didn't dare to persuade him anymore. He could only follow behind and help. The two entered the water. Wang Daoyuan's plan succeeded. His body emitted a jade-colored light. Then, he turned into a true dragon more than 10 feet long and swam toward young Master Huang. Seeing him turn into a true dragon at that, the two were surprised. The Qixing Sea Shuxian community hadn't seen a true dragon for thousands of years. After they came to their senses, the two realized that it was stupid to fight a true dragon underwater. They wanted to escape into the air. However, Wang Daoyuan's true dragon flight technique in his dragon form was extremely fast. Moreover, they were in the sea. The two's speed couldn't be compared at all. Wang Daoyuan's target was young Master Huang. The 5th-grade flying boat was in his hands. If he escaped, Wang Daoyuan wouldn't be able to catch up with him. His 2 front claws grabbed at young Master Huang. Young Master Huang had no other choice but to block with his sword. Wang Daoyuan grabbed the flying sword with one claw while the other claw grabbed at young Master Huang's dantian. The assassin wanted to save him. He also condensed a black dragon and attacked Wang Daoyuan. Wang Daoyuan swung his dragon tail and shattered the black dragon. A golden light appeared on young Master Huang's body. This should be his life-saving trump card. The dragon claw didn't manage to shatter it. It only made him spit out a mouthful of blood. The true dragon transformation put a lot of pressure on the body. It couldn't be maintained for long. If this continued, Wang Daoyuan would be the unlucky one. He took out his life-bound magic weapon, the Sword of Origin. The moment he took it out, it was filled with killing intent. He had such a powerful sword cultivation technique, but he had been hiding it. The two immediately realized who their opponent was. It was the sword cultivator surnamed Zhou, whom the 7 late-stage Yuanian cultivators couldn't catch in the 7 Stars Heavenly Palace. Unfortunately, they found out too late. The Sword of Origin was made from a 6th-grade high-grade sword embryo. Even if the tool pattern was only 5th grade, it was still very powerful. Coupled with Wang Daoyuan's Sword of Origin, the golden light barrier was shattered in an instant. Countless sword chi rushed into young Master Huang's body. His internal organs were instantly shattered. Even the Yuanian cultivators weren't spared. Young Master Huang died on the spot. His face was still filled with fear and disbelief. Wang Daoyuan kept his corpse in the space of the spiritual pearl. Then, he swung the Sword of Origin at the assassin again. Chapter 765. The assassin might not be strong enough in a head-on battle, but he was very good at hiding and escaping. He disappeared into the sea in an instant. Wang Daoyuan searched with his divine sense, but he couldn't find any trace of him. If he escaped, he would be hunted down by the 7 Stars Alliance and Blood Shark. Using his divine sense, all the spiritual energy within a 300-mile radius was under his control. No matter how good the assassin's escape technique was, it was impossible for him not to cause a disturbance. The moment he used his divine sense, he discovered that there was a strange mass of seawater about 30 miles north. His divine sense couldn't lock onto it. If it wasn't for the fact that the flow of spiritual energy in this mass of water was incompatible with the surrounding seawater, Wang Daoyuan wouldn't have noticed it. The Sword of Origin returning flashed with silver light as it cut through the seawater and slashed towards the assassin. The assassin knew that he was exposed, so he stopped hiding. He channeled all the black spiritual energy in his body into a long sword, wanting to take the attack head-on. In order to prevent this guy from abandoning his body and escaping, Wang Daoyuan used the Black Tortoise Purgatory. A black flame prison with a diameter of 500 feet enveloped the assassin's entire body. With a flash of silver light, the assassin's spiritual energy dissipated. The black sword in his hand broke into 2 pieces, and his head fell from his body. Yuanying flew out from the corpse, wanting to escape. Yuanying's speed was usually much faster than cultivators of the same level. If he ran far away, Wang Daoyuan wouldn't be able to stop him. Yuanying's head crashed into the black tortoise purgatory and bounced back. His cultivation wasn't low, so the black tortoise purgatory also trembled. The black tortoise purgatory alone might not be able to trap him. The sword of origin returning carried a large amount of sword chi and broke into the black tortoise purgatory again. Yuanying tried to dodge several times, but was still cut in half by the sword of origin returning. Wang Daoyuan put the assassin's corpse and Yuanying into the spirit pearl space. He flew to the surface of the sea and summoned his flying boat, continuing his journey towards the south. At the same time, in the middle of Rare Treasure Island's market, in a deep courtyard, an early Yuanying cultivator ran to the backyard in a panic. As soon as he entered the backyard, an old voice came from inside. "Jin Sheng, why are you so flustered?" The early Yuanying cultivator quickly said, "Father, Big Brother's soul tablet is broken." A peak-stage nascent soul cultivator with white hair and beard rushed out of a room and questioned loudly, "What did you say?" "Big Brother's soul tablet is broken." The peak Yuanying cultivator was stunned for a long time before he asked, "Where did Jin Shan go?" The early Yuanying cultivator replied, "Big Brother received a message from the cultivator guarding the city gate. The brat who stole our water essence left the city through the south gate. He led the Nether Flood Dragon to chase after that brat, and it has only been less than 4 hours since then. You bastard surnamed Wu dared to kill my son. Prepare the fastest flying boat for me. I'm going to chase after him. I want him to die without a burial place." Wang Daoyuan naturally guessed that Master Huang and the assassin organization would chase after him. In order to avoid being caught, he adjusted his direction and flew to the southeast. In the space of the spiritual pearl, his doppelganger searched through young Master Huang and the assassin's interspatial rings and found many good things. As Master Huang's eldest son, young Master Huang had many good things in his interspatial ring. Just the high-grade spirit stones alone were close to 100,000 pieces. What surprised Wang Daoyuan the most was that he also had the high-grade level 5 astral core that he bought at the auction. In addition to these things, there was also a high-grade level 5 magic longsword, as well as many nascent cultivating pills and healing pills. The level 5 flying boat that they took to come here was also here. He also had a mid-grade level 5 soft armor, but unfortunately, it was pierced through by the origin restoring sword and was basically useless. Even with Wang Daoyuan's refining skills, it would be difficult for him to repair it. Young Master Huang also hid a jade pendant, but now it was broken and its spiritual power was basically gone. This should be young Master Huang's trump card, but now it was useless. The doppelganger casually threw the astral core, and the astral core automatically floated above the center of the spiritual pearl, absorbing the purple energy and converting it into star energy. Soon, the astral core began to emit star energy. Moreover, the amount of star energy was much more than the astral core that he obtained in Beiyuan. There were no cultivation techniques or spells in the assassin's interspatial ring, but there were more than 30,000 high-grade spirit stones. There were also some pills, but not many. There was also a token, similar to Ghost Snake's token, with the words, Hell Flood Dragon, carved on the back. The doppelganger checked the level 5 flying boat and did not find any problems. Wang Daoyuan also changed to the level 5 flying boat, which was indeed much faster. With this, he was not afraid of Master Huang catching up. There was a distance of millions of miles from here to the myriad demon islands. In order to save spirit stones, most of the merchant ships relied on cultivators to drive the flying boats, and they had to stop and rest along the way. Wang Daoyuan had the spiritual gathering pearl and the spatial ring, so he did not need to resupply. From the south of Rare Treasure Island, the Blood Shark Pirates' territory was nearly 500,000 miles. Since he was wanted by the 3 major forces, Wang Daoyuan did not dare to look for trouble, and tried his best to avoid the island. After taking many detours, it took more than half a month to reach the southern edge of the Sea of 7 Stars. At this time, Master Huang had already returned to Rare Treasure Island. He was not prepared enough, and chased south for more than 300,000 miles, but he could not find Wang Daoyuan's trace. The high-grade spirit stones he carried were barely enough for the return trip. If he continued to chase, he could only rely on himself to drive the flying boat back. Helplessly, he could only give up the chase and return in exasperation. Wang Daoyuan met many cultivators on the way, but to be able to own a level 5 flying boat, he was definitely not an ordinary rogue cultivator, so no one dared to provoke him. The journey was quite peaceful, and he did not meet any cultivators blocking his way. At the edge of the Sea of Seven Stars, south was the territory of the demonic beasts. In order to avoid being targeted by the demonic beasts, Wang Daoyuan tried his best to fly the flying boat as high as possible. There were often clouds on the sea, and hiding in the clouds could save him a lot of trouble. Even so, he met many demonic beasts along the way. Killing a level 4 demonic beast that was courting death was not much effort. Level 5 demonic beasts would be a little troublesome, and he might even be chased by a group of demonic beasts. Fortunately, the demonic beasts in the sea were not very fast, and did not cause too much damage. After more than half a year of trekking, he arrived at the northernmost tip of the Myriad Demon Islands. Although the Myriad Demon Islands did not have a large island like the Sea of Seven Stars, it was still common to see islands with a radius of thousands of miles. Wang Daoyuan arrived at the Fire Lotus Island, which was a medium-sized island with a diameter of over 7,000 miles. There were many volcanoes on this island, and these volcanoes formed a lotus shape. On the Fire Lotus Island, there was a level 6 low-grade fire spiritual vein, as well as many level 5 fire spiritual veins. The scale of these spiritual veins was not big, and they were all deep underground. Moreover, these volcanoes produced many fire attribute materials, which attracted many cultivators. The Fire Lotus Island was not small, and there were high-grade spiritual veins. Moreover, it was located at the northernmost tip of the Myriad Demon Islands. In addition to the large number of cultivators, it became the place where the Myriad Demon Islands and the Sea of Seven Stars traded. At the northern end of the Fire Lotus Island, there was a large-scale market. Occasionally, there would be large flying boats coming from the Sea of Seven Stars to trade here. On the island, there were also shops opened by Blood Shark and the Seven Stars Alliance. They were used to sell the resources in the southern part of the Sea of Seven Stars. At the same time, they would also buy spiritual items from the Myriad Demon Islands and send them back. Of course, the Seven Stars Alliance and Blood Shark's forces here were already very weak. Most of the people in the northern part of the Myriad Demon Islands were cultivators who were ostracized by the two major powers. The shops of the two major powers did not dare to be too arrogant in case they were destroyed. Wang Daoyuan naturally came here for the leaf fire essence. There were many volcanoes and fire attribute spiritual veins here, so the possibility of the leaf fire essence appearing was very high. There were more rogue cultivators of the righteous path here, and fewer devil cultivators. He would not be conspicuous among them. He knew nothing about the Myriad Demon Islands, so he naturally wanted to find a place to scout for information. Wang Daoyuan entered the market at the northern end of the island. The scale of this market was not small, and it had a radius of over 100 miles. He strolled around the market and soon found a restaurant. The name was very familiar, Kai Yang Restaurant. Chapter 766. The owner of the Kai Yang Restaurant was the Kai Yang sect, which was located on one of the 7 big islands, the Kai Yang Island. Although the Kai Yang sect didn't monopolize a big island like the Alioth Sword sect, there were soul formation cultivators in the sect, so they weren't weak. The Kai Yang sect's inheritances were very diverse, such as pill, artifact, talisman arrays, sword cultivation, body cultivation, and so on. There were even inheritances of spirit chefs, but none of them were particularly strong. If the Rising Sun sect was best at business, it would still be business. As long as there was an island with a market, there would be shops of the Kai Yang sect. The market of the Fire Lotus Island wasn't small, so the Kai Yang sect was naturally there. After entering the Kai Yang restaurant, he found an empty table and sat down. The waiter quickly asked, "Senior, what would you like to order?" Wang Daoyuan said casually, "Give me some of your best dishes and 2 jars of good wine." The waiter quickly served the dishes. The ingredients were local, mainly demon beast meat, and a small amount of fire attribute spirit herbs. The wine was also good. The ingredients were 4th-grade spirit herbs that had been stored in the cellar for hundreds of years and had barely broken through to the 5th grade. Wang Daoyuan ate and drank while listening to the cultivators around him. Most of the rogue cultivators didn't have a tomorrow, and they all liked to enjoy themselves. There were many rich people drinking in the restaurant. At the table next to him, there was a middle-stage Yuanian cultivator in a blue robe drinking by himself. Not long after, another white-bearded cultivator walked into the shop. Seeing this blue-robed cultivator, he quickly walked over. "Brother Bai, it's really you. We haven't seen each other for many years since we parted on Cloud Island. I didn't expect to meet you here today. Back then, you also established a force and lived a good life. Why are you here too?" The blue-robed cultivator smiled bitterly. "Brother Gao, let's not talk about the past. I can't stay in the Sea of 7 Stars anymore, so I can only come to the myriad demon islands to make a living. Brother, you've been here for many years, I wonder if you can give me some guidance?" The white-bearded cultivator smiled. "What kind of guidance can there be on the Fire Lotus Island? It's nothing more than going out to sea to hunt. Other than demon beasts, there are also some low-intelligence fierce beasts. These fellows' physical bodies were far superior to other beasts of the same level, but their intelligence was far inferior, making them easier to kill. The further south they went, the more ferocious beasts there were and the fewer demonic beasts there were. There were many volcanoes on the Fire Lotus Island, and there were also many fire-attributed materials. As long as they dared to enter the lava lake, they would definitely be able to reap some rewards. If he was lucky enough to find some precious refining materials, he would be able to earn a lot of spirit stones. When I first arrived here, someone found a 6th-grade fire essence in the lava under the volcano. I heard that it was sold for over 100,000 high-grade spirit stones. Upon hearing this, Wang Daoyuan's ears perked up. This was exactly the news he wanted. Cultivators were similar to ordinary people in that they liked to brag after drinking. Hearing this white-bearded cultivator talk about the leaf fire essence, the other insiders also started to brag. A sturdy cultivator said, "This is Dao Yu, the one who found the leaf fire essence, and we are old acquaintances. Back then, when I was on this Fire Lotus Island, that Dao Yu invited me to go down to the lava lake of the Blood Flame Mountain. However, there were often high-grade 5th-grade ferocious beasts in the lava lake. I was afraid that it would be dangerous, so I didn't go. I didn't expect that I would miss out on a fortune." Sigh. Everything is fate, and it's not up to people. A cultivator next to him joked, "You don't have that fate, so it's useless even if you go." The Blood Flame Mountain is located in the center of the Fire Lotus Island and has a 6th-grade spirit vein. Maybe you won't be able to get the leaf fire essence, and you might even be eaten by demonic beasts. Anyway, it's a good thing that you didn't get rich. That Dao Yu seemed to have been assassinated not long after selling the leaf fire essence. The other cultivators also started to discuss the leaf fire essence, and Wang Daoyuan learned a lot of information from them. It seemed that his luck was pretty good. He had just arrived here and he already had news of the leaf fire essence. However, knowing this news didn't mean that he would be able to obtain the leaf fire essence. The Blood Flame Mountain had a 6th-grade spirit vein, so the flames in the lava must be extremely powerful. Yuanian cultivators couldn't stay for too long after entering, not to mention that there might be high-grade 5th-grade ferocious beasts roaming around. Once they were entangled by ferocious beasts, it would be difficult to escape. Listening to these people's conversations, there were quite a few Yuanian cultivators who had died in the lava lake. However, he wasn't satisfied with obtaining such accurate information without investigating. That year, that cultivator had obtained the leaf fire essence. As long as there were some remnants left, it would be enough for Wang Daoyuan. It would be able to slowly grow after fusing with the fire spirit vein. After eating and drinking to his heart's content, he left the market and headed to the center of the Fire Lotus Island. From the market to the center of the island, the scenery in front of him changed drastically. The air was filled with dense fire spirit energy, and there were very few plants on the ground. Only a few fire attribute spirit plants were growing more luxuriantly. Wang Daoyuan also casually picked some valuable spirit plants and transplanted them into the space of the spirit pearl. Along the way, he didn't encounter any ferocious beasts blocking his way and soon arrived at the Blood Flame Mountain. This volcano wasn't big, only about 5 kilometers in diameter and less than 3 kilometers tall. There were quite a few Yuanian cultivators cultivating around the small mountain. After all, it was a rank 6 spirit vein, and the density of spirit energy was extremely high. Fire attribute cultivators cultivating here would be able to achieve twice the results with half the effort. Of course, other than cultivating here, these people also had the intention to take advantage of the situation. If a cultivator managed to gain something from the volcano, they would gang up on him. If a ferocious beast escaped from the volcano, it would also be surrounded and attacked. Regardless of the situation, these people would be able to gain a lot without paying a huge price. Wang Daoyuan didn't know much about the Blood Flame Mountain, so he naturally wouldn't enter the mouth of the volcano. He followed the other cultivators and found a place near the Blood Flame Mountain to meditate and cultivate. There was a mid-stage Yuanian cultivator nearby. When he saw Wang Daoyuan cultivating nearby, he mocked, "A mere early-stage Yuanian cultivator dares to come here and join in the fun? This is my territory. If you want to cultivate here, you have to pay 10,000 high-grade spirit stones. Otherwise, your little life will end here." This person was tall and muscular. He was clearly a body refiner. Moreover, there was a strong smell of blood on his body. He was clearly a demonic cultivator of the blood demon tribe. Wang Daoyuan didn't take this demonic cultivator seriously. "Your territory? How did you divide the territory near the Blood Flame Mountain?" The demonic cultivator looked disdainful. "Of course I took it with my own ability." Wang Daoyuan looked enlightened. "Then that's easy. This territory belongs to me now. You can either scram or die." If he wanted to enter the lava lake in the Blood Flame Mountain to search for treasures, he had to establish his dominance first so that others wouldn't dare to attack him. This demonic cultivator had delivered himself to his doorstep. It was a good choice. This demonic cultivator was naturally not a good-tempered person. Now that Wang Daoyuan was so arrogant and didn't take him seriously, how could he tolerate this? He took out a heavy sword and slashed at Wang Daoyuan. Wang Daoyuan also took out his black dragon halberd and swung it at the demonic cultivator. The sword and halberd clashed, producing an ear-piercing sound. The two of them had similar physical strength, so they both retreated. However, the black dragon halberd was refined from the black jade flood dragon spine and dragon horn, so it carried the power of a dragon. Demonic cultivators were afraid of heavenly might and divine beasts, so they were at a disadvantage. An early-stage Yuanian cultivator had the upper hand against a mid-stage Yuanian cultivator in a head-on confrontation. All the cultivators present thought highly of Wang Daoyuan. No one wanted to attack him anymore. This demonic cultivator wasn't weak, so it wouldn't be easy to take him down. Others might even take advantage of him. After successfully establishing his dominance, Wang Daoyuan didn't attack anymore. He meditated on the spot and looked for an opportunity to enter the volcano. He stayed there for half a month. Every day, there would be cultivators entering the volcano to try their luck. On this day, the sound of fierce fighting constantly came from the volcano. Soon, a mid-stage Yuanian cultivator escaped from the volcano, followed by a blood-red lizard. Chapter 767. Every time something like this happened, the cultivators around the Bloodfire Mountain would stare at the escaping cultivator with their eyes wide open. If this person was injured or had a good harvest, they would gang up on him. If he wasn't injured or had a good harvest, they would gang up on him and kill the demon beast. This time was no exception. Everyone was looking at the mid-stage Yuanian cultivator. Although this mid-stage Yuanian cultivator was in a sorry state, he was full of vitality and his spirit power was stable. He wasn't seriously injured. Wang Daoyuan couldn't tell if he had a good harvest or not. The other cultivators, on the other hand, carefully inspected the cultivator before revealing looks of disappointment. They were all old foxes. They were disappointed because they saw that this person didn't have a good harvest. Of course, they couldn't let go of the lizard that chased them out. Even the most worthless meat of a mid-stage 5th stage demon beast could be used for cultivation. With a few mid-stage Yuanian cultivators attacking together, a beast of the same stage couldn't resist and was quickly divided. The golden core of the beast was snatched away by a sword cultivator. Beasts and demons were different from humans. They didn't have Yuaniing. Even after breaking through to the 5th stage, the core of their spirit power was still the golden core. However, the price of a 5th stage demon beast's golden core was very high. Other than being used for alchemy, it could also be used as a material for forming Yuaniing. If it was in Beiyuan, a mid-stage 5th stage demon beast's golden core could be used as a source of 5th stage spirit power. When Daoist Lei Yen broke his core to form his nascent soul, his corpse core was similar to the golden core of this beast. Wang Daoyuan didn't care about this. The nascent formation fruit he obtained in the 7-star secret realm was already a foot tall and had 5 buds. In 5,000 years, he would be able to use the nascent formation fruit. The flow of time in the spirit pearl was already 70 times faster than the outside world and was still accelerating. He estimated that the nascent formation fruit would ripen in another 50 to 60 years. The medicinal effect of this fruit wasn't something a 5th stage golden core could compare to. After the demonic beast was killed, the cultivator who escaped from the crater panted for a long time before he slowly said, "Thank you Dao Yu for your help. I found a piece of refining material below. I haven't even made a move yet, and this beast has already set its sights on me." A middle-stage Yuanian cultivator beside him asked, "The materials used to refine this weapon must be extraordinary to have a 5th-order mid-grade demonic beast guarding it." The cultivator shook his head. "I didn't even have time to check before I was ambushed by this beast. That thing's spiritual energy fluctuations are extremely strong. It should be a 6th-grade material." Hearing this, everyone's interest was immediately piqued. Any random piece of a 6th-tier crafting material would be worth tens of thousands of high-grade spirit stones. The volcano crater of the Bloodfire Mountain had once produced level 6 low-grade leaf fire essence. The young cultivator asked again, "Where?" The cultivator who escaped did not hide anything. The southernmost part of the lava lake, 2,000 feet below the lava. The lava lake near a level 6 low-grade spirit vein had extremely strong flames. Yuanian cultivators would still be in great danger if they went down. Many cultivators would be burned to ashes before they could even reach the depth of 2,000 feet. Hearing this, some of the cultivators revealed hesitant expressions. However, there were many wandering cultivators who valued money more than their lives. Moreover, wandering cultivators who could cultivate to the Yuanian realm all had life-saving methods. After a few dozen breaths of hesitation, about 20 cultivators flew to the crater of the volcano. They used all kinds of life-saving methods and jumped into the crater. These cultivators were the majority of the cultivators around the Bloodfire Mountain. Wang Daoyuan had long wanted to enter the crater of the volcano to search for the leaf fire essence. However, there were too many cultivators waiting to take advantage of the situation, so he didn't dare to casually go down. Now was an excellent opportunity. He also flew to the crater of the volcano, wrapped himself in the black tortoise purgatory, and jumped into the lava lake. He was no stranger to lava. Back then, when he cultivated the Scarlet Wand fire resistance escape on the Jade Spring Peak, he cultivated in the lava. However, the fire spiritual energy in the Jade Spring Peak's lava was only at the level of a level 3 high-grade fire spirit vein. It was far inferior to the lava here. Wang Daoyuan still underestimated the power of the level 6 low-grade lava. The black tortoise purgatory on his body was quickly consumed, and soon, a hole appeared. Even if he tried his best to replenish his spiritual energy, he still couldn't keep up with the consumption of the lava. He could only release the Scarlet Yang primordial fire and wrap it around the Black Tortoise purgatory. With the Scarlet Yang primordial fire consuming the fire's spiritual energy in the lava, the pressure on the Black Tortoise purgatory decreased by a lot. Wang Daoyuan extracted spiritual energy from the Scarlet Yang primordial fire, converted it into water-attributed spiritual energy, and replenished the Black Tortoise purgatory. However, the deeper he went, the stronger the flames in the lava became. He definitely couldn't take out the black magic robe. The wings of a half-step Yuanying black-winged demon were only level 4 high-grade refining materials. In the flames, they would be burned to ashes in an instant. The robe on his body made of level 5 low-grade beast skin could barely hold on in the flames. Other than the flames, there was also an extremely strong pressure. The density of the lava was much higher than that of water. In the lava, the pressure on the body was naturally greater than in water. He had just gone down more than 1,000 feet when he heard the sounds of fighting coming from below. The spiritual energy fluctuations were also very intense. Moreover, the spiritual energy fluctuations didn't seem to be from demonic beasts, but more like a battle between humans. In such a situation, there was an 80% chance that someone found something good and it was seen by others. With the character of this group of rogue cultivators, they would naturally snatch it. Wang Daoyuan didn't want to get involved in this muddy water and continued to stay more than 1,000 feet deep. The flames of the lava below were even stronger, and the pressure on the body was also greater. Even if he didn't fight, he couldn't stay down for long. Now, this group of people still had to fight each other, and the time they could last was even shorter. When the cultivators below were tired of fighting, they would naturally come up. It was just right for him to wait here. The situation wasn't out of Wang Daoyuan's expectations. The situation below was getting more and more lively. In less than half a cup of tea's time, they began to escape upwards. He also took out the level 5 high-grade sword he got from young Master Huang, ready to ambush them at any time. Soon, a mid-stage Yuanying cultivator escaped from below. This person was the demonic cultivator who caused trouble for him before. He didn't expect that this guy would be the first to get the spiritual item below. Previously, he attacked him, and now he stole his item. It was a good time to settle the old and new scores together. In this lava lake, he had to use spiritual energy to protect himself, and there was no way to hide his tracks. The demonic cultivator also discovered his tracks. There was no need to hide anymore. Wang Daoyuan's hands turned into dragon claws and grabbed at the demonic cultivator. His whole body was emitting dragon chi and an extremely strong dragon might. The demonic cultivator was extremely sensitive to these things and felt a wave of fear. In addition, he had used up a lot of his spiritual energy after fighting with the other cultivators below. Now that there were people chasing after him, he naturally didn't dare to fight with Wang Daoyuan. He didn't have time to cast spells to resist the flames. He directly turned into a bloody light and flew up. His speed was extremely fast. He must have used a secret technique that consumed his blood essence and true essence. Wang Daoyuan didn't want to risk his life, so he just followed behind unhurriedly. With Dahei's keen sense of smell, this guy couldn't escape Wang Daoyuan's detection unless he could escape thousands of miles away in an instant. Even if he escaped, the aura he left behind would expose his whereabouts. He definitely wouldn't be able to escape in a battle of attrition. The cultivators below also hurriedly followed. An old cultivator saw Wang Daoyuan and asked, "Did you see that blood demon demonic cultivator?" "Yes, I saw him. I was about to attack when he turned into a bloody light and fled. My cultivation level is low, so I didn't dare to take the lava's fire head-on, so I didn't dare to chase after him. What good thing did this guy get? Why are there so many people chasing after him?" The old cultivator didn't answer. He used a secret technique and followed. However, a cultivator behind him said, "I only saw an extremely powerful fire attribute spiritual energy fluctuation. It should be a 6th tier material. According to the senior in front, it's the essence of fire." The other cultivators no longer paid attention to Wang Daoyuan and sped up to catch up. Chapter 768. A depth of more than 10,000 feet was nothing to Yuanian cultivators who were rushing at full speed. Everyone quickly chased after him, and Wang Daoyuan followed closely behind. When they exited the volcano, they discovered that the blood demon had already escaped. At that moment, the cultivators running in front had already chased south for dozens of kilometers. The blood-colored light that the demonic cultivator had transformed into had already fled to somewhere unknown. Everyone still chased after him relentlessly. One of the cultivators even summoned a bat demon beast to track the blood demon. Wang Daoyuan was already prepared to take advantage of the situation, so he naturally followed. That demonic cultivator was a mid-stage Yuanian cultivator who walked the path of body refinement, so he had more blood essence and quintessential essence. Using this secret technique, he could fly for thousands of kilometers. The group followed behind the bat demon beast and chased south. Soon, everyone arrived at the edge of the island. The bat no longer flew forward, but circled above a small area of the sea. The blood demon was not stupid. He knew that he would not have any advantage if he kept running, so he fled into the sea in an attempt to use the water to escape. The demonic cultivator burned his blood essence and quintessential essence to escape thousands of kilometers away. He was now in a half-dead state. Even if he entered the sea, he would not be able to escape too far. Naturally, everyone was unwilling to give up and stayed by the shore. They were unwilling to use their trump cards so easily. They wanted to wait for the others to leave before taking the benefits for themselves. This stalemate lasted for a while, but no one left. An old cultivator summoned a water-type snake-type demon beast. This stalemate is not a solution. Everyone, Daoyu, don't hide anymore. Use your methods to find this demonic cultivator. My jade wave snake is good at searching for targets in the water. Its speed in the water is even faster than that of an average mid-stage Yuanian cultivator. With that, he summoned the jade wave snake. This snake was only about 3 feet long and covered in light green scales. It did not look special, but it emitted high-grade level 4 spiritual power fluctuations. After the jade wave snake entered the water, it quickly swam south. The other cultivators who had underwater searching methods also used their methods to search for the demonic cultivator in the sea. Soon, 3 cultivators locked onto the demonic cultivator's position. The master of the blue wave serpent said, Daoyu, the 3 of us have found traces of the devil cultivator. We can't waste our efforts, can we? Wang Daoyuan said, there are more than 20 of us here. No one can take all the benefits. If the devil cultivator really obtained the leaf fire essence, then it wasn't impossible to separate them. Instead of fighting, it was better to share the benefits. Dao, you have contributed more, so you can take more. Although he needed a lot of leaf fire essence, he had the space in the spirit pearl. As long as a small piece of leaf fire essence was integrated into the fire spiritual vein, it could slowly grow. It would be most beneficial for him to split a piece each. The master of the Jade Wave Serpent smiled and said, Daoyu's suggestion is not bad. If all the other Daoyu agree, I have no objections. The other cultivators nodded as well. Under such circumstances, no one could take all the treasures for themselves. Instead of fighting to the death and possibly gaining nothing, it was better to quit while they were ahead. At this moment, a middle-stage Yuanian cultivator wearing a black robe looked at Wang Daoyuan with disdain. The idea is good, but you're just an early-stage Yuanian cultivator. What right do you have to share the treasures with us? If we kill you, won't there be one less person to share the treasures with? The others also looked at him with ill intentions. He was the only early-stage Yuanian cultivator present. Since he also wanted to share the treasures, the others were somewhat unhappy. Wang Daoyuan nodded. You're right. If we kill the weak, there will be one less person to share the treasures with. Before he finished speaking, his hands had already turned into dragon claws and attacked the black-robed cultivator. The two of them were only 100 feet apart. He had no time to dodge Wang Daoyuan's sudden attack. He could only take out a mid-grade Tier 5 sword and inject spirit energy into it. A spirit energy barrier appeared around his body to block the attack. Wang Daoyuan grabbed the sword with one of his dragon claws while the other went straight for the black-robed cultivator's heart. With a scream, the spirit energy barrier shattered and a large hole appeared in the black-robed cultivator's chest. The black-robed cultivator was also very decisive. He immediately abandoned his physical body and fled into the distance with Yuanying. The others were still gloating and had mocking smiles on their faces. Now, their smiles froze on their faces and they were stunned. This Yuanying was extremely fast. Ordinary spells would not be able to catch up. He had used the Black Tortoise Purgatory in the 7-star secret realm. With so many people present, it would not be good to use it again. Intense metal-type spirit energy fluctuations appeared on his body. Then, 300 golden feathers appeared out of thin air. Under his control, the 300 feathers left his body and chased after the Yuanying. The feather blade's speed had always been extremely fast. They were even faster than a sword cultivator's sword control. The black-robed cultivator's chances of escaping with Yuanying were slim. He did not wait for death. Burning his true essence, he cast a spell and condensed the shadow of a black tortoise. This tortoise shadow was similar to the black tortoise. Its defensive ability was not weak. A few feather blades hit it and shattered into golden powder. The tortoise did not move at all. Wang Daoyuan gathered the remaining 200 feather blades and attacked a single point. The tortoise shadow collapsed instantly. The remaining 100 feather blades turned into a tornado and attacked Yuanying. A golden light flashed and Yuanying disappeared instantly. Wang Daoyuan recalled the remaining feather blades and infused spirit energy into his body again. He smiled and asked, "Now I can take 2 portions. Who agrees and who disagrees?" The people who were gloating earlier had a trace of fear on their faces. They quietly distanced themselves from Wang Daoyuan. He could directly kill Yuanying. He was too much of a threat to them. Once the sneak attack succeeded, they would not even have the chance to seize the body. The master of the blue wave serpent smiled and said, "Dao Yu, speak with your strength. I have no objection to you taking 2 portions. That demonic cultivator is now hiding in a sea mountain 500 miles south. There seems to be a protective array there. He is hiding in it to recover his injuries. Let's go take him down and then divide the treasures." The others also agreed. After discussing, the group came to a place 500 miles south of the Fire Lotus Island and went into the water. Under the guidance of the 3 people, the group quickly found the sea mountain and the place where the demonic cultivator was hiding. Wang Daoyuan waved his hand and shot out more than 10 golden feathers. The array set up by the demonic cultivator was directly broken. This array was brilliant. In addition to resisting the pressure of the sea, it also had traces of an illusion array that could conceal one's whereabouts. Now that the array was broken, the demonic cultivator no longer hid. He held a fiery red crystal that was 1 foot and 4 inches long and 5 inches in diameter. As soon as he saw this thing, Wang Daoyuan's face lit up. It was indeed the leaf fire essence. The demonic cultivator said, "I can hand it over, but you have to let me live. Otherwise, I'd rather destroy this thing. If the leaf fire essence turns into fragments, it won't be worth anything." Before he could finish his words, several cultivators had already made their move. Anyway, they were going to be separated. It didn't matter whether it was fragments or not. Wang Daoyuan didn't dare to fall behind. He didn't want to be criticized again when they divided the treasures. In less than a breath's time, the body of the demonic cultivator lay on the ground. Even Yuanying was cut in half by a sword cultivator. The leaf fire essence was intact and was still in the hands of the demonic cultivator. Everyone wanted to take it, but they didn't dare to do it for fear of being besieged. Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "Let the 3 Dao Yu who found the traces of the demonic cultivator divide it. We have a total of 24 people. The 3 Dao Yu and I will take 2 portions. This leaf fire essence should be divided into 28 portions. Dao Yu and I will take half an inch each. The 3 Dao Yu and I will take 1 inch each." The way he killed the black-robed cultivator in an instant had shocked everyone. His idea was fair, so no one dared to refute. The master of the blue wave snake walked to the corpse of the demonic cultivator and picked up the leaf fire essence. He took out a long sword and began to divide it. First, he cut off 4-inch-long sections of the leaf fire essence. Wang Daoyuan and the 3 cultivators each took a section. The remaining 1-foot-long section was divided into 20 sections. The other cultivators each took a section. You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.